Introducing PubCoin. PubCoin is the rewards program for pub sports contributors. Regular chat contributors share their play of the day, POD, in the YouTube chat, including the phrase POD in their message. At the end of the week, the amount of units earned are converted into PubCoins. PubCoin can be used as reward points for prizes, shop discounts, and contests.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's Mills here, Pub Sports Radio. Do you guys want to challenge the personalities here at Pub Sports Radio? Do you guys think you're better than them at entering in your MMA predictions and picks? Would you want to get paid for it? $100? Here's how you do it, man. You sign up right here at the link below. It's just this easy. PubSportsRadio.com. Enter your email. Pick your weekly picks. That's it. Oh, and you get bonus points if you can predict how they're going to win in what round. Every single week, a new winner's getting crowned. So every Saturday on Pub Sports Radio. So come on and check us out. You can win $100 just for signing up. Only thing you need to do is see if you can beat us here at Pub Sports Radio by entering your UFC predictions and picks weekly. Do it. I dare you. See you guys soon.
Upgrade your membership to Gold. You will be automatically entered in every horse race, every Wednesday and Friday. It is time to race horses. We are racing camels today.
Shout out to the Gold members. We're racing in San Antonio immediately here. And we're off. 2 minutes, 74 canals on this racetrack. It's wide. We're racing in San Antonio.
Pat Wally moving forwardly. Jeff Slaughter in the mix as well. And as is Randall Sheffield, who's put that beautiful nose out front.
But it's actually real grass here, Jimmy. Maybe Kentucky bluegrass. Oldie, no! There he goes. There he goes. Oldie in the lead now. K. Wolf falls back. The horses love it. Sometimes they stop and eat it on the way to the finish line. That's why your horses start so far in the back. Here. Oh, look at Nuss Flush Allen bursting out here. J-Dub in the mix. Rude Boy up here as well. Jimmy, take it away.
There's Oldie. Oldie is moving to the front. We are past the halfway mark in our 2 mile. And there's Ricky Levy.
Oh my goodness, he's in the mix here. Jimmy, take it home. This is our first dog race ever.
19 seconds left in the horse race here. It's Fernando Mendoza trying to find the wire. 14 seconds left. Can Fernando Mendoza take this home? Here comes Kenny Can. Kenny Can wants a piece of the pie. Put his schnoz up front. Ricky Bobby, 9 seconds left. Can Donut Silks make a run? Can Res Mall make a run to be $50?
You son of a bitch!
Here comes Tori Coker. Kenny Can Smoke and Mirrors. Director 97 home. That is a way. Here comes Jason Meyer, the other auto custodian. Billy Friedrich. Jones one all coming down the finish.
Coin! Nowhere!
Oh no! Fanatical Jim!
From the Parker Peter Low Shack, legendary sports handicapper, more dapper than a dawn. Father young phenom, known as Jimmy, who declared one day that the bag was here to stay. Information like a PSA with the all PSR Pub Sports Radio Bizarre. Is a man named Slaughter and he flipped the script. No competition in this they quit the trip. But we say we be pubbing, better with the bag and you love it. We want it top 10, we above it. Let's check.
What up, cappers, gamblers, punters, hustlers, low baggers? Happy Thursday, December 5th to all of you. Thank you for watching Betting with the Bag right here on Pub Sports Radio. We have a perfect schedule for us to attack today. NHL, NFL, NCAA basketball, and NBA. We're running very well in everything except NHL, which is my bread and butter. there's not much to say. Lost 7 straight in NHL. My record is ugly. Bobano is having a very tough time here on the show here as well in NHL. I hear from multiple sources what a great season he's having overall. It's just a weird thing with the one day of the week being tracked here, because he's only here on Thursday. So just, it's an outlier. But our NHL records are horrific. And then everything else is successful. Everything else is in the black. But that's a problem. So it's something that needs to be fixed here. I felt, I don't know if it was my struggles on the ice, but I felt it was a difficult card here today. In fact, other than the Thursday nighter, the only bet I've made on today's card in its entirety is Alperen Sengun over 39.5 points, rebounds, and assists. You guys know I make very few player props. I've made 4 in the last 3 weeks and cashed them all. I try to only bet them when I feel forced to bet them. And I felt forced with Sengun at 39.5. Today, I got that at minus 110 at 365. It was minus 119 at an offshore book that I use. A shout out to all the cappers rocking with us. Here is our Betting with the Bag show, which Bobano is starring in. But at 3 p.m. Eastern, we have the Cappers Contest show, fresh off a 5-0 week, fresh off a 13-7 quarter, now 37-27, 562nd place out of 5,600 and something. And we're 3.5 points out of the money. Today's Cappers Contest show is the single most important Cappers Contest show that we've had. So please join us. It's a members-only show. Please join us at 3 p.m. We're running real nice. A shout out to Truth Teller in the house, Dan Kelly. Dan Kelly, when he makes these comments and puts them in the chat, it's just, you're just leaving money on the table, not following and not tailing. And you should tail every single one of them. Every single one of them. He's uncanny. I wish I tailed every single one of his future bets. The Atkinson prop, it just eats at me every time I see the Cavaliers on camera. So I'm going to have to jump on this. I don't know. I'm going to study it. So the over season wins total, I'll just bet sight unseen, but that make the playoffs, I'll have to study that a little bit more. But I love it, Dan Kelly. I've copied and pasted that. We'll go over that again here when we get into NBA at the end of the show. And again, I've only made that one move in NBA, that Alperen Sengun over 39.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I love backing player props when players get kicked out of the game. Now, he got kicked out late, and so did Udoka, who has his back. Draymond not in the lineup, like Kevon Looney can slow down Alperen Sengun. What is Kuminga going to help? I think that over 39. I bet you it's 42.5 come tip-off. Kong Smash Play of the Week, Play Day, Brian Battle and Alex Pantoja. That's at minus 110. And the Nuke Play Day, Brian Battle, Moneyline, Alexander and Oregon. Pantoja, Moneyline, and Oregon, minus 3.5 at plus 285. A copy and paste, all that. Nate Dogg, 420. Wrench Mob, ready to go. Big Scott in the house. Right State, Moneyline, and Southern Miss for Big Scott. Let me copy and paste that here. That will be, and we're going to have to roll fast, but that's our first game. So one thing that might happen here is we're going to start with NHL, of course, but maybe halfway through we jump out for a second and cap Southeast Missouri State Redhawks Lipscomb Bisons at Allen Arena in Nashville. So Jose, be prepared for us to make a quick move over to college basketball for Southeast Missouri State Redhawks Lipscomb, and then come back to NHL. So let's prepare that. So I'd like to cap that Southeast Missouri State Redhawks so that there's no panic. Maybe in about 22 minutes. I don't want to be, if I'm hemming and hawing, I want to be able to have a few minutes of calm before I fire away. Today is a crucial day for me. It's funny. I'm crushing right now everything but NHL, and losing 7 straight is a problem. And after the game's finished tonight is my 25% in and out with my local, where I should be just sitting back, accepting cash every Friday. NHL is getting in the way of that. So tonight's a very important night. Also, we have our live stream for Packers Lions, which is going to be extremely exciting. And I'm going to have so much action across all sports. I love it. I love it. And I don't want to put anything on it, but it's intense and having all that action going on, where you're on screen is not the most comforting of situations. Nuke Worker in the house, Barry Roselle and LJ from H-Town. I'm right with you, LJ. I'm on the under 51.5 with you. That line has not moved. That makes me nervous, but I am right with you. Let me make sure I got this up here. Got to pull up my NFL. I'm right with you. So I've got that here. LJ, thank you for sharing that with us. My friend LJ will be on our live stream tonight, and he'll be on NFL Pub Hub on Sunday. We had 2 cappers sweep the board on NFL Pub Hub. Of course, Marley swept the board. He's an absolute monster. Brothers and bets, respect and shout out. And Ron Crawford, star of the spreadsheet play of the day, also swept the board. I need Ron Crawford on this Sunday as well. Shout out to our guy, Ron Crawford, just to get started. This is just that little wake-up call. We all have our coffee ready to go here, but maybe you need a little more of a wake-up call. How about this? Let's try this. Ron Crawford! There we go. That pumps me up. Serious business, Jermaine. Wine Time Sports, 60.7% on the season. Only the second capper in 8 years of doing these shows to be on weekly and go over 60% against the spread and on totals. Our guy, Wine Time Sports, absolutely destroying college football. Big Scott says, damn, Southern Miss now -5, was -2.5 last night. I was very curious to see where that line would go. I did spend probably more time than I needed to put into that game just because of needing to get off to a good start today, as we all, need and want. But I can't wait to talk all these games out with Bobano. These Thursdays have been very successful. As Bobano and I have struggled in NHL here on the show, Bobano's destroying NCAA basketball here with us. He's 20-12 with us, 62.5% ROI plus 20.63%. He's plus 6.6 units. I'm just 12-9 on the year at 57.1%, keeping my this just works for me in a volume. I want to have volume action, but when I cap with Bobano on Thursdays and Dabby Cap on Thursdays and Fridays, when I cap with CMAC on Fridays, and just work with you guys, work with the chat, my ROI is 9.81%. So there's nothing more important than succeeding and building our bankroll. Family. But other than that, nothing. So I'm going to keep it clean, but Bobano destroying college basketball here on the show. Nasty Nate in the house. Andrew G. Kong's clips. Yeah, I hear you, Kong, but it's costly. Everything else is going so smoothly, so it's just costly. That's all I'm saying. But thank you for the kind words. We did close up the year up 17 units in NHL, and that didn't make me happy. I mean, that felt like I was barely surviving and barely breathing all year, and it's not enough. It's not enough. Morgan Spooner in with his college basketball action. I'll put that right under Big Scott's action. Get that copied and pasted here. That's South Carolina State moneyline, Wright State moneyline, UT Rio Grande Valley, San Francisco, Purdue, Fort Wayne, and Missouri State. We have 12 games in college basketball, and we have to work very quickly if we want to get through all of them. Jay Peasy in the house. Dutch boy fresh, ready to get to work. Slatsy adding that Cole Caulfield goal. Slatsy will be live at the Habs game tonight. We'll talk all about that. Chosen one ready to go. Kelly McInnes. Justin McKelvey, stacks play today. Number 1 is Wright State -107. Let's get both of these up here. And number 2 is the Cavaliers. Jermaine, moving on. Love. You know what? I got to separate these. So let me just focus here just for a second, just so we can have them all set up under the right games. So I'm not messing all over the place. So let's get So Stacks plays of the day are both in Cavs and Wright State. Jermaine moving on Love under 21.5 completions and Goff under 32.5 pass attempts. That is, of course, the second thing we're going to do here is cap that the Thursday nighter right after NFL. But we will slip into that college basketball game very briefly here. Let me just copy and paste this. Okay, we got to get to work. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Crystal Craig in the house. It is great to see you, Crystal. Panathinaikos and Lions money line for Gorky. Lions is a spot that Troy Torrance is on, and he thinks there's a lot of value on the money line. And I've been, I track everybody's action. He's been very, very successful on these minus 140 to minus 190 favorites, which is a very dangerous spot to mess with. And he's been very, very successful on them. A big Scott looking at Penn State first half money lines. Well, there's Deacon Mike in the house. SFSLLC ready to go. That looks like my guy from Detroit City in the house. But we'll have him come out and say, he says, good to see you. It's our guy from Detroit City in the house. Great to see Ralph Portwando in the house as well. We're going to get more Ralph Portwando as we move forward, as he is retired. Congratulations, Ralph Portwando, on your retirement. It's richly deserved. You worked your ass off, and I can't wait to have you around more often. Chris Warren in the house. We got NJ Stryker ready to go. Vaughn Polo ready to go. Jim Dewiger, Justin McKelvey, Rez Mob ready. Dougie Wise. What a great, great group. Gerald Jones here ready to eat. The chosen one on IPFW and Purdue plus 1.5. Old E AOD. Absolutely great group. Thank you guys for joining us. Let's get right to work here. Let me copy and paste this last college basketball note, and let's roll. We have a beautiful card, a card that we need to attack, a card that we will attack. We have just the capper to help us attack all of these sports. I will handle NBA at the end of the show, just because we only have a 2-hour cap with our next guest. Please welcome from Canada's black and yellow steel town, Hamilton, Ontario, our friend, Mr. Ian Cameron, to the telecast. Bobano, how are you?
Good with Jimmy. Good to be with you. Let's get after it here on a Thursday once again.
Let's get right after it. And these records that we have are great in everything. And then we're getting pummeled in NHL. It's just awful. And we must change it. We must fix it. I've heard from multiple people how great of a season you're having. I know this is not the best example.
Not on this show, not on this date.
No, not on Thursdays. And actually, then I've now lost 7 straight
for the season, but for some reason the plays on this show haven't worked out. It's going to happen sometimes when you're only on a show 1 day a week.
It's early December, but we need to rally. We've done it year after year after year after year. So it's just sometimes you get slapped in the face in capping, and sometimes it's your bread and butter that does it to you. Let's get to work here. We start at 7 p.m. Eastern. Winnipeg Jets 18-8-0, 9-6-0 on the road. Just 9-6-0 all of a sudden. At the Buffalo Sabres 11-12-2, 6-7-1 at home. KeyBank Center in Buffalo, New York. We have Connor Hellebuck and UP Lokinen. There are some questions about the goaltending, and I put this all in last night, so let me know. Not in this game in particular, but as we go through, let me know if I made any mistakes. Winnipeg power play 30.7%, penalty killing 80.9%. We have Buffalo power play 14.7%, and the penalty killing 80.3%. Great job, Del Honest. I mean, let's do it, man. This is that makes it very valuable. Actually, on this show, my NHL's been strong. It's when I'm alone, left to my own devices, that I've screwed this up here. But Del Honest, whatever angles that you can get from this show, please use them to help you. Let's get into the line history here for Winnipeg Buffalo. Winnipeg minus 130 on the money line, opening up at minus 136. So we've had a very, very slight move towards the Buffalo Sabres. On the total here, we have a 5.5, it's juiced to the over at minus 113. Really, we've had no movement on the total. The issue with this game for me is all about Rasmus Dahlin. When he left the game against Colorado, they fell apart. They completely fell apart. He has back spasms, and that you would think maybe after a couple of days off, he'd be good to go. But unfortunately, they recalled Ryan Johnson from Rochester. So there has to be concern about Rasmus Dahlin in this one. The Jets coming off their fourth straight loss, 4-1 at home to the Blues on Tuesday. They're in the throes of just an awful stretch of scheduling. Just horrific. They had an insane 6-game, 10-day road trip. They went 1-5 on. They flew home from Dallas on Monday, immediately played St. Louis on Tuesday, and they lose that 4-1. Then the next day they fly to Buffalo. And then this begins 3 games in 4 nights and 4 games in 6 nights. I mean, how is this going to? This is very difficult. They're playing without Nikolai Ehlers, who's out with a lower body injury. Sabres coming off their 4th straight loss, 5-4 at home versus the Avalanche. They were up 4-0 after the first period before things fell apart. Sam Lafferty, Jordan Greenway are out with injuries. Matthias Samuelsson is on IR with a lower body injury. Take it away, Bobano, Jet Sabres.
Yeah, that was a lot of low points for the Buffalo Sabres the last decade, and that was certainly one of them last game against Colorado, losing 5-4 after having a 4-0 lead. Just a brutal way to lose that game, no question about that. Now they got to play a Winnipeg Jets team that, look, they've lost 4 in a row, and we knew it was coming. We knew the Winnipeg struggles were going to hit at some point. You're not going to keep up winning the way they were. Their offense is dried up. Power play is struggling. Players that were really lighting it up earlier in the season, Connor, Scheifele in particular, they've hit a bit of a cold spell lately. They're not playing great hockey. I'm not excited about laying a price with Winnipeg here. Buffalo's lost 4 in a row now after that 3-0 swing in California. We'll see if they can kind of get back on track here in this game tonight. Obviously, that was a horrible result for them the other night, losing that game 5-4. But the fact that they were up 4-0 against Colorado shows that they can be capable. And I've just decided, and I took St. Louis the other night, big dog against Winnipeg. Winnipeg's just a team I'm looking to go against right now. And I think after that loss, you're going to get an A game from Buffalo. I think you're going to get a strong performance start to finish. So this price with the way Winnipeg's playing, what I expect to see from Buffalo after one of the most horrific losses on home ice you can imagine, being up 4-0 and giving up 5 unanswered and losing. I'm taking a shot with the home team here, the home dog Sabres, plus 120, Buffalo.
Sabres plus 120. Do you expect Rasmus Dahlin to be in the lineup?
It's going to be game time, so we'll have to wait and see on that.
If he's not in the lineup, are you going to be concerned about your action?
Well, there's always concerns when there's injuries, but sometimes we see teams step up with the player out for the first game. We could see that here.
I don't feel comfortable backing either of these teams. I can understand backing the Sabres, but I can't do it. Dahlin is just such a phenomenal defenseman, so important. Maybe if he's in, I will move on him. Let's roll on to the next spot on the board. 7 p.m. Eastern with the Nashville Predators, 7-12-6, 2-6-4 on the road at Montreal Canadiens, 9-13-3, 6-5-2 at home. We're at the Bell Center in Montreal, Quebec. As I said, Slatsy will be at this game. Justice Anunen is making his Predator debut here. And of course, he's been horrific. 6'4", 3.23 goals against average, 872 save percentage. The Predators gave Kevin Lankinen away for nothing here, and now they've watched him star for the Canucks and have no Wedgwood was playing poorly. But we saw what happened when Wedgwood switched teams and put on a different uniform. Could the same thing happen for Justice Anunen here? Sammy Montembeault, 7-10-2, 2.99 goals against average, 901 save percentage, 2 shutouts. Nashville power play at 20.8%, penalty killing at 89%. Montreal power play 21.5%, penalty killing at 82.6%. Let's get into the line history here for game 2. On the board, the Predators Habs. This total, I've got the total up because, the Predators offense looks awful. I mean, Andrew Burnett's about to get fired. You can see it in his face. And they are still playing pretty accountable defensive hockey. But they're just not making the right plays, And Colton Sisson's driving to the net there when all he had to do was, now I know it takes some offensive flair. Maybe Colton Sisson's a Vancouver boy, doesn't have that, but all he had to do was give that back pass, and that was just the easiest goal they would have scored all year. But they're just not thinking well, and they were lucky to score that first goal. I can understand the difficulty in backing them, and there's been an 11-cent move here to the over. There was another move to the over 4 minutes ago and a 7-cent move to the over. And why wouldn't it with the way Anunen has been playing? On the money line here, we have Nashville at minus 130. They open up at minus 150. The Habs have gone from plus 133 to plus 118. There's a lot of excitement around the Habs. They snapped their 3-game losing streak in a 2-1 overtime win at home versus the Islanders on Tuesday that saw Patrick Laine score a power play goal in his Habs regular season debut. The Preds on the second half of back-to-back after suffering their 5th straight loss. They play Ottawa on Saturday night. Take it away for us here, Bob. And of course, the Ottawa game will be their 3rd game in 4 nights with travel. This is their 2nd of a back-to-back. Very difficult situation. Take it away, Bobano. Predators, Habs.
Yeah, I'm going with Habs money line, Habs team total, both of them here in this game. Montreal plus 118 money line, Montreal team total over 2.5 at minus 140. So we'll lock both of those in. By the way, Nashville in this 5-game losing streak, they've given up at least 3 goals in every game during that 5-game losing streak. So that's what makes the team total very appealing here with Montreal, as does facing Justus Annunen, who just has not been very good for the Predators. Wasn't very good for Colorado. After a really solid beginning to his season with the Avs, hasn't been the same. I know there's that theory. Sometimes you go to a new team, you're fired up for that first start, but this Nashville team is just in a bad way right now. They've scored no more than 2 goals in any of their last 5 games. In fact, they've been held to 2 goals or less now 8 of their last 10 games. The offense has been a massive disappointment. They look slow. They look clunky. They look disorganized. They look completely out of sync on the ice, the Nashville Predators. Not to mention now they're on a back-to-back. And that was, in theory, a nice spot for Nashville to maybe get off the schneid last night against Toronto. And they still, found a way to fuck it up, found a way to lose, with a horrible third period. You can't, when you have a 1-0 lead on the road entering a third period, how do you start a period like that if you're the Nashville Predators? And that tells you there's zero confidence right now with this hockey team. So I'm going to go with, and I like the way Montreal showed some really good signs with Patrick Laine back. It's almost like it gave them a new spark, a new energy the other night. If it's Montembeault in net, which I assume it will be, I'm sure he'll be fired up and I'm sure he'll be excited. And a lot of the players that got selected for the Four Nations face-off played well last night. Look at Brad Marchand. Look at the game he had against Chicago last night. So I think if Montembeault's in net, he'll play well. It's not like Nashville's lighting it up. So I like Montreal here. We'll split money line with team total.
You got it. Plus 118, minus 140, respectively. I have interest in the under 6 because, you were right that the Predators have allowed at least 3 goals, and even, but the last 4
you
games,
can get a 3-2 Montreal win. It's possible.
Their last 4 games, they only allowed 3 goals once in regulation.
3-2 has been a common losing score for Nashville.
But 3 of those were in overtime. So they'd only allowed 2 goals in those 3 games against Philly, Tampa, and Minnesota in regulation.
I say sprinkle on correct score. Montreal 3-2. 4 straight losses, Nashville, exactly 3-2.
It's an interesting way of looking at it. I'm not betting this under 6 after the show. If I move on it, I just think this over is going to keep getting bet and bet and bet and bet. So I'm going to be very patient here. If I decide to trust in Noonan, I don't want in my head the what Wedgewall did, for the Avalanche here. We have an ask from our guy Kong's Clip. Says we need to see the Habs video. It doesn't feel like this is happening anymore with the franchises. Feels like Marty St. Louis has righted the ship. But sure, my man, here you go, Kong.
La plus grande franchise dans la histoire du hockey.
Sounds like me speaking French. Atrocious, man. What an embarrassment to the franchise. Let's roll on. Next up for us, there's the Sweaty Butcher in the house. Sweaty Butcher, hope to rock with you tonight on the live stream. 7 p.m. Eastern, Detroit Red Wings 10-11-4, 5-5-2 on the road at Ottawa Senators 10-12-2, 6-5-1 at home. We're at the Canadian Tire Center in Ottawa, Ontario. Alex Lyon and Cam Talbot are both out with injuries, so it will be Husso between the pipes. He does not have a victory all season. He has not looked good. 4.22 goals against average, 856 save percentage. Let's get into the line history here for this one. Wings, Senators. We have the Senators at minus 164. The Red Wings opened up at plus 152, and I was surprised at it. If I had any faith in the Red Wings goaltending, I would have probably backed them here. But it was difficult to do with Husso in net. From a total standpoint here, we have a 6. It's minus 113 to the over. This opened up at 6.5. So that tells you they think that Husso might be able to play well here. Linus Ullmark on the other side, who's been horrific. I mean, it's just crazy how Swayman and Ullmark have fallen apart this season. Ullmark 5-7-2, 3.07 goals against average, 888 save percentage, 1 shutout. Both power plays are very strong, and both penalty killing is very weak. There's Rod Zawacki in the house. Great to see you, Rod. Nate Dogg 420, Cheshire Cat. Great to see all of you guys. Wager Detective Andrew G. Thank you guys for rocking with us. Both power plays have been very strong. Detroit 26.7% power play. And Dylan Larkin he's been the best power play center in the league this year. He's looked phenomenal on the power play. But their penalty killing is 65.3%, and that's really going to hurt you against Ottawa. Ottawa power play 28.1%, being top 5 all year long. Gerardo Hernandez looking at the over 6, and Slatsy saying Sens 8-2 to the last 10. 8-2 last 10 versus the Wings. Sens have gone over in their last 5 games. Ottawa penalty killing isn't quite as bad as Detroit's. Ottawa at 76.1%. Red Wings coming off their third straight loss, 3-2 in overtime at Boston on Tuesday. Their last 4 games have all been 1-goal games. Rodswag says bet over the total in Ottawa games off 2 or more consecutive road losses. The overs record since 2023, 18-4. Patrick Kane out is still on IR with the upper body injury. It seems like it's very slow moving injury. We're not sure. We thought he'd be back by now. He's not. Senators return home from a 1-1 California road trip. It ended with a 4-3 shootout loss at Anaheim on Sunday. David Perron out with an upper body injury, and Artem Zub is out with a foot injury. Take it away, Bobano. Red Wings, Senators.
Yeah, this is one of those games, too, when you look at it. Ottawa's playing better hockey. I would say it was a pretty decent road trip for them. Actually, it started out well, but then they lost the last 2. They'll be hungry to bounce back, coming back after the 3 games on the road. Detroit just can't find a way to win right now. I mean, they've had a couple. They've been right there. 3 straight 1-goal losses, 2 of them in overtime for the Red Wings. But you mentioned it with Ville Husso. It's hard to have faith. Right now with this guy. Hasn't won yet this year. His numbers aren't very good. You got Ottawa back home now looking to bounce back. You got Detroit looking to bounce back. You got 2 teams off consecutive losses. I think you get a back and forth kind of a track meet game. And the history has kind of shown that in Red Wings versus Sens. 6-4 to the over, 4-2 to the over. More recently in the last 6 meetings, Ottawa's on a 5-game over the total streak. Detroit's a team I trust more offensively than defensively, especially with Husso and net. So I like the over by Fecta. We're going to go with both the first period and the full game over here in this game. We'll go over first period minus 130, minus 130 with Detroit Ottawa first period over. Over 6 minus 118 for the full game. And I am going to sprinkle on the draw in this game as well. We've got some strong draw trends going. Detroit has gone to overtime in 3 of the last 4 games. Ottawa went to a shootout with Anaheim. 2 of the last 3 head-to-heads have gone past regulation as well between the Red Wings and the Senators. So I think we got a high-scoring game, and I think we got a pretty close game and a decent chance for OT, plus 340 on the draw.
You got it. You are locked in. A lot of believers in the over here in the chat, and yet this is not moving towards that over. I'd be very interested to see where it goes at. This morning, around, from 2 to 7 in the morning, the 6 was around minus 120. Now it's minus 113. That confuses me. I don't let the market dictate too much in NHL, but it's hard to trust here. Rod Zwacky put a little on 3-3 exact score, which would be heavenly for Bobano here in this one. We're going to make a quick switch here, Bobano, because we want to cap this 12 p.m. game here in college basketball. So, Jose, let's switch over to noon action here with the Southeast Missouri State Redhawks. 3-4, 1-2 on the road at the Lipscomb Bisons. 5-4, 2-1 at home at Allen Arena in Nashville, Tennessee. We're going to go right back to NHL after this, but we want to make sure that everybody has time if they want to get their day started with this early action here. Let's go over the line history. We have Lipscomb as 17-point favorites here. 17-point favorites. They opened up as 15, so we've had this 2-point move towards Lipscomb. Now 17-point favorites. On the total in this, we have a 146.5, heavily juiced to the over. We see 147s and 147.5s. This one's just showing me the 146.5, heavily juiced to the over. This has come down from 147.5. It's not as big of a move as it might look like, just because we have because it is so heavily juiced to the over at this point. Let's get into the cash flow and see if we get any information. And we do have information. 4,574 tickets in. We have 75% of the tickets and 61% of cash on Southeast Missouri. I found that really interesting last night. At 1 a.m, it was the same situation. It was slightly moving to Lipscomb at the time, but the public was betting Southeast Missouri State. 88% of tickets and 84% of cash on the over. Drew looking at Lipscomb and the over. Justin McKelvey is Lipscomb minus 15.5 in his pocket. And Nunya got Southeast Missouri on a plus 18 on a parlay. So let's set this one up for Bobano. Southeast Missouri State comes off their second win in 3 games. Both these teams come off very impressive victories. Now Lipscomb has been stacking impressive victories, but Southeast Missouri State comes off an 80-59 victory at home over Kansas City on Saturday as 2.5-point dogs. They were up 40-21 at the half. They just rolled, and they've won on the road. They traveled to Central Arkansas and won 77-73 in overtime on November 21st. Lipscomb won on Saturday too. They destroyed Alabama A&M 82-44 in Huntsville. And they didn't even shoot that well. They just outplayed them in every facet of the game. They shot 45.9 from the field and 40% from 3. From Huntsville, on Sunday, after the game was Saturday on Sunday, they traveled to Chattanooga. And then they beat up on the Mocs on Tuesday, 80-62 as a pick'em. And they shot spectacular. 57.9 from the field and 47.1 from 3. So now they're back in Nashville for this. Their third game in their third arena in 6 nights, which is something that I would have interest in fading. But clearly, the market believes they're a runaway train. The cappers in the chat believe the same, except for Nunya. And, also you have Southeast Missouri State coming off a hugely impressive victory at home. It's not exactly the situation you'd probably want to back them, even though they understand that Lipscomb is a very strong team. Take it away for us, Bobano. This game tips off in 25 minutes. Southeast Missouri State, Lipscomb.
Yeah, I'm not involved in it. I mean, Lipscomb's the much better team. That's why they're bigger favorites. But Southeast Missouri State's been a point spread machine. I mean, 5-1 against the spread this season. Their only non-cover was at Bradley. They played very well. They've been able to go on the road and lose by only 9 at Vandy. Win outright as a small dog at Central Arkansas. It's been impressive to see, no doubt. This Lipscomb team's in a different stratosphere, in my opinion. I mean, back-to-back wins by 18 over Chattanooga, by 38 over Alabama A&M. They won their last game on the home floor, a 16-point fit. Jackson State's not a bad team. Okay, Jackson State, we just saw them give St. Louis a problem. And Lipscomb rolled them 77-53. So I'm not really looking to step in front of Lipscomb. But at the same time, I'm not laying these points coming off a big win at Chattanooga. SEMO's been a good point spread team, so it's a confliction game for me. Just be careful with strength of schedule. Something to analyze now that we're getting into these post-tournament games, post-neutral court tournament games over the Thanksgiving week. You really want to see who's played good competition and who hasn't. And Lipscomb's really played some good teams so far. They played Arkansas. They played Belmont. They played Western Kentucky's a good mid-major. Kentucky. They've really tested themselves here, Lipscomb. So, for me, it's just nothing really strong. I think pace-wise, this game could lean to an over, but these early games, I don't love betting over, so I'm off.
I understand that you probably don't want to back the Redhawks after, playing so well and at home, switching facilities, but isn't this a bad spot for Lipscomb? Isn't it? Isn't it a bad spot, shooting out of their mind on the road, coming back to their third arena in 6 days? I mean, doesn't this just feel like a tricky spot here?
It's a tricky spot, no doubt. A couple of people I've talked to still like Lipscomb here that are pretty savvy in college basketball. The point spread clearly has been off on SEMO. SEMO's been undervalued all season, and that's going to be the hope if you're going to take the points here with Southeast Missouri State. It is an early game. See if that affects obviously any kind of home court this year. For me though, Lipscomb, I cashed with Lipscomb against Chattanooga. I really like them in that spot. Maybe it's because I cashed with them. Maybe I'm not rushing to go against them here as a result, but I think the question is going to be for SEMO defensively. They have faced the weaker schedule, and their defensive numbers look good because of that. This is a step up the way Lipscomb can just run at you, play with that pace, shoot threes, make their threes. going to be a good test for SEMO. SEMO was an awful defensive team last year. Their numbers look better this year, but was a lot of that schedule related? We'll find out today.
Yeah. And then, okay, I am going to move on this game, and this could, blow up in my face quickly. But I'm getting a 9.5 with almost no vig here at 365.
First half, yeah. That first half's probably the safer bet, the better bet, because Lipscomb's had some second halves where they've just destroyed teams. So first half might be better if you like SEMO.
And it's a very low vig situation here where I see very sharp books who have juiced this here. Rod Zawacki backing me on this one, which I like. So I'm going to send this bet in here. That'll be Southeast Missouri State first half plus 9.5 minus 105. Let me just ensure that I can get that number because it's heavily juiced in other books. So let me just move this here. Okay, get this here. Okay, so I'm going to send this in here, but let's move back to NHL and attack. The next game we will be talking college basketball is the 1 p.m. PFW Detroit Mercy spot here. Morgan on SEMO full game as well. It's exciting. Okay, so we got some action here, but we need to get off to a good start. Let's get back to NHL, and we get to 7 p.m. Eastern. San Jose Sharks 10-13 and 5-4, 7-4 on the road at the Tampa Bay Lightning 12-9 and 2, 7-4-1 at home, Amalie Arena in Tampa, Florida. The Sharks have been very good to me, and I haven't bet them enough. There's Kenny Can in the house. Great to see you. I like it, Ranch Mob. Let's get it, my man. I have not bet them enough, and I told LJ, even though part of the reason why my record is abysmal right now is because the Capitals hurt me so much, but I said you got to keep fading the Capitals. They're just not as good as their record indicates, even though Carberry, hell of a coach, and they're getting more out of more than the sum of their parts. And I didn't have San Jose, and I wanted them first period, and I just got caught up. I would have taken them plus a half with juice, so it wouldn't have been that huge of a score or anything like that, but I missed out on that one. They come on off their third straight win, 2-1 in overtime at Washington on Tuesday to start this 5-game road trip. Let's get into this Sharks Lightning. This is a tricky spot. Maybe Bobano can help here. I was hoping that the later we talked about this game, the better, because the Lightning have been off since Saturday night. In that game, they didn't have Kucherov. They have 4 guys right now listed as day-to-day. None are on the IR. Jake Gensel, and Nikita Kucherov, of course, the most important, but also Nick Paul. Jake Gensel and Nick Paul, that's the top 2 centers. And then Mitchell Chaffee as well. So they're beaten up, but they could have all 4 of them back in the lineup tonight. I went through the beat writers and trying to get the information, and it was very difficult getting it.
Kucherov's out. Nick Paul's back, though. Yeah,
Kucherov is out. Yeah. Wow. Okay, that's big. Okay, and Nick Paul is back. What about Gensel?
Oh, Gensel. Let me just double check again. I think Gensel's good.
That's important to know. Yeah. Mackenzie Blackwood's been great this year. 6-8-3, 2.94 goals against average, 909 save. Oh, Kucherov out, Nick Paul. Thank you, Slatsy. If you could find this, also get some backing on Gensel. He's such a big part here. Rodsweiss says bet against Tampa on the money line after scoring 3 goals or more in 3 straight games. Tampa record during the 2025 season 0-8. There's razor sharp picks in the house of this game day. Go Pack, go. San Jose power play 18.4%, penalty killing 81.5%. They're playing pretty good hockey. Tampa Bay power play 23.9%, penalty killing 77.9%. Let's get into the line history here for this one and the total and roll on. I'm going to get my bet in here while Bobano was talking about this spot here. The Lightning right now are minus 260, and they opened up at minus 252. This got up to minus 275 at 9:30 in the morning. Now minus 260. You know what? San Jose is playing good hockey. This line doesn't make sense. On the total here, we have a 6. It's minus 114 to the over. This opened up minus 117 to the over. It actually slipped up to 6.5 for a little bit. Cup of coffee, but it's back at 6.4. We have basically no movement. I love it, BJ. Thank you for sharing that with us. I will be copying and pasting that information. Thank you. Then let's get into The Sharks coming off their third straight win, 2-1 in overtime at Washington on Tuesday to start this 5-game road trip. Marc-Edouard Vlasic is going to make a season debut at some point during the 6-game road trip. I have no idea what he's going to bring to the table at this point in his career, being hurt for so long. And then Tampa Bay's been off since Saturday. Take it away for us, Bobano. Sharks, Lightning.
Yeah, this is fascinating because I like what I'm seeing out of San Jose, and I'm tempted to back them again after taking them against Washington and cashing with them in that 2-1 overtime win. I like the energy and spirit of this young group. Celebrini's been excellent. Tyler Toffoli's given them some veteran leadership and some punch offensively. Got one of their goals. William Eklund's been turning things up lately for the Sharks as well. They're playing hard every single night for their young head coach, Ryan Warsofsky. All things considered, has done a very nice job here so far with the team this year. But you do have Tampa off a loss, which is always a tricky time to bet against them. They're usually good in that situation. And at home, where they still have the better record than they do. The road, it continues to be a bit of a problem for them. 5-6, 7-5 at home, and at home off a loss. They've owned San Jose. I think I may not back San Jose because of you've got the fact they've owned the Sharks. They're off a loss. They've had the rest advantage, looking to bounce back here, and it does look like Gensel's good to go. Like I said, Gensel will play. Paul will play. It's Nikita Kucherov that's likely going to miss this particular game. But I like the way the Sharks are going, like 4-1 in their last 5 games. They're getting actually some better goaltending for a change, this specifically from Mackenzie Blackwood. We'll see if he's in net here for this one. I have not moved on this game yet, but I think tonight there's still some value in San Jose. I just don't know if I like the spot enough to bet it. So as of now, it's a stay off.
The Lightning are coming off of a loss, but they've been off for a long time. Do you see them being sharp in the first period? I mean, obviously the rest advantage is going to show late, but is it going to show in the first period? Do you have any interest in Sharks first period plus a half?
I don't mind that at all. I don't mind that at all. I've also seen Tampa Bay when they're off a loss. Now, whether they've had days off or not, they've come out and they've just come out storming. So maybe that's probably some concern I've got with that. But if you buy into the fact that, maybe they'll be just a little out of sync early because they've been, resting and been at home since Saturday, their last game against Toronto, and think they'll just get stronger as the game goes on, that's not a bad angle.
Let me take a look at this line.
Let me see what their first period numbers are. See if I can find that. I got someone that's done a great job giving me all these numbers. See if I can find that out.
Oh, it's too expensive. It's too expensive. Minus 143 over at a very sharp offshore. I just I think it's too expensive. Let's see what it is over here at 365. First period plus a half. Minus 150. Yeah, it's just too expensive.
Yeah.
So I would have to take them first period money line. I don't know if I can get there. Rod Zawacki on Macklin Celebrini plus 235 as for a goal. Tampa Bay 5-0 as home favorite in the last 5.
For what it's worth on the season, I don't have the money line records, but first period, Tampa Bay does have a plus 10 goals for differential in the first period over San Jose on the season.
Sorry, can you give me that stat again?
Plus 10 goal differential for Tampa Bay over San Jose in the first period this season.
Yeah, I don't know if I want San Jose when they feel this good about themselves. By the way, Slatsy is confirmed. Rasmus Dahlin is ruled out for the Sabres. Hellebuck confirmed for the Jets. Skunt Blaster in the house. Thank you for the dono, my friend. Actually, let's cheers with the Canucks Cup. Skunt Blaster, thank you, my man. Packers plus 3.5 minus 115. Kraken money line plus 105 from our guy, the Skunt Blaster. There's the pipe layer in the house. Great to see you, pipe layer. I'm certainly not going to move on to minus 143 or minus 150. I would have to take the Sharks first period, which I think is kind of questionable. So Ranch Mob says Simo has recorded over 65.5 points every game besides one this year and 80 against Chat. Oh, that's not Simo then, because Simo hasn't played Chattanooga. Are you talking about Lipscomb? Ranch Mob, can you confirm if you're talking about Lipscomb? Because Lipscomb just played Chattanooga when they won 80-62.
Yeah, that's
okay,
correct.
I've got to think more about this Sharks spot here. Okay, let's roll on. I mean, I don't bet plus 1.5s, at all, but maybe this would be the spot. There's Mally Mal in the house. Oh, and sorry, Rod's Wacker was talking about first period is a home favorite. Okay. Yeah, that's okay, let's roll on. Next up for us, 7 p.m. Eastern with the Florida Panthers, 15-19 and 2. Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you, Wrench Mob. Also against Chattanooga, 87-82. Thank you, my man. My bad. Great job. Because you hit 80, I was thinking, but thank you. And 76 against Vandy. Slatsy says Spencer Knight confirmed for the Panthers versus the Flyers. This Panthers goaltending has been horrific this year. It's nice to have Spencer Knight back in the NHL, but Flyers 12-10-3, 6-6-1 at home. And Urson coming back, Fedotov, I pushed, I had a pretty good month, 909 save percentage, good goals against average. You're not the only one who thinks he's absolute trash that I've been fighting against in the chat. But Urson is supposed to be back from injury here. We'll see if he is. Skunk Blaster said this is a flyer spot. Give me the plus money on the Flyers. Look, I got the over 81.5. I got plus 425 to make the playoffs. I told you guys I'm much higher than everybody else on the Flyers, which should have been paying me out, but unfortunately it really hasn't. A Philly Eagle Flyer, Philly over 5.5 and over 6.5. And first period, both teams to score for Philly Eagle Flyer. Florida power play 25.3%, penalty killing 81.1. Philadelphia power play 16 and penalty killing 84.9. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We have a 6. It's minus 117 to the over. They push this book here. This offshore is pushing the over much harder than other books. So it's a fascinating. This has had a 10-cent move to the over when you do see pick'ems at other books. On the money line, we have Philadelphia at plus 154. They opened up at plus 139. So we've had a 13-cent move towards the Philadelphia Flyers. Big Scott, yes, you did say that Fedotov was shitty. Big Scott, absolutely, and but his numbers this month have not been shitty. Fedotov this month here, he got off to that horrific start, but this month, let's go quickly here just to back this up because I do believe in it. 2.57 goals against average, 909 save percentage. He's moving in the right direction, but we shall see, Big Scott. And Slatsy says Fedotov is confirmed, so Samuel Urson not coming back. So I guess that's the market move against the Flyers is Fedotov being in net and not Urson.
Yep.
Panthers had their 3-game winning streak snapped in a 5-4 overtime loss at Pittsburgh on Tuesday. The Flyers coming off their third straight win, 3-2 in overtime at St. Louis on Saturday. Jamie Drysdale remains out with an upper body injury. They're hoping to get him back soon, but this one's lingering as well. Irish King on Florida minus 1.5. Take it away for us, Bobano. Panthers, Flyers.
Yeah, I mean, with Fedotov, it's very difficult to take this Flyers team. I mean, 3.39 goals against, 881 save percentage for him. Not great numbers, not a great season. 4 goals allowed in 3 of the last 4 starts. We'll see how he fares here in this one. But Spencer Knight, I mean, he wasn't very good against Pittsburgh the other night. And like I said, that's he does not have 4
goals
He's already
allowed in 3 of his last 4 starts. I know you guys are hating on him, but he does not have 4 goals allowed because he allowed 1 goal against the Rangers. He allowed 2 goals against the Sabres. Yeah. And the Sabres, he allowed 2 goals.
Yeah.
So, sorry, keep going.
No, he's been more bad than good. I still got to see more. I actually think this game could end up being an over here with the Panthers and the Flats. That's really what I like more. I like the way the Flyers are competing. I do. I don't want to lay this kind of a price against Philadelphia right now with what I've seen from them. They beat the Rangers. Now you could say Chicago, Nashville, Rangers. Rangers are struggling, but St. Louis beating them in overtime, team that's played well. Remember, they played the Blues post Jim Montgomery getting hired. That's a solid win, in my opinion. So the only thing that's holding me back here is Florida off a loss. I do not like going against this team off a loss. They always seem to be a good response team. But I like the way Philadelphia is playing. So for me, for a side, it's very much side I don't want any part of. I don't want to lay this price with Florida, but I don't know if I want to take Philly with the Panthers coming off that loss. I am interested a little bit here in the over. By the way, the game in Florida between these teams earlier this year did get to over the total. 4-3 was the final score in that game as well. So I think the over's in play here. We'll go with that. I also think the draw is worth a look. There's another draw that I circled. Plus 350 here on the draw. We saw the game in Florida go past regulation. Philadelphia has been a draw machine lately. 4 of their last 5 games overall have gone past regulation. So you're going to give me a plus 350 on the draw. I will certainly take it. So I'll make that official along with over 6 minus 112.
Draw at plus 350 and the over 6 at minus 112 for Bobano and Panthers Flyers. I'm going to need to sit with that one longer. This is the one that I was extremely interested in moving on. It's not a fun spot here, but I was very, very interested in the Hurricanes on the -1 line. Let's roll into it. 7 p.m. Eastern. Avalanche 14-12-0, 7-5-0 on the road. The Carolina Hurricanes 16-8-1, 9-3-0 at home. We're at the Lenovo Center, Raleigh, North Carolina. Who's in net for Colorado? Are they going to go back to Georgiev? Because that's what I have listed here.
Why would you not give Wedgwood this start? Wedgwood was awesome in relief. He's the one that gave you a chance to come back against Buffalo. You're a moron if you're Jared Bednar, in my opinion, not going back to Wedgwood here.
I agree completely. And then that was one of the reasons why I had paused here, because we do not have confirmation, I assume, at this point. Georgiev, 3.54 goals against average, 867 save percentage. And he's not one of those guys who, you can trust him to bounce back, And then the goaltending with the Hurricanes has been horrific. Spencer Martin, not an NHL caliber goaltender, and he showed that. The problem is that I think so highly of the Hurricanes, and that's kept me off of fading them when they should have been faded. Peter Kochekov is listed, and he didn't look very good in that 4-2 loss at home to the Kraken on Tuesday, coming back from injury. The Avalanche snapped their 2-game losing streak with a wild 5-4 comeback win at Buffalo, coming back from that 4-0 deficit after the first that Bobano is alluding to. Colorado power play 26.8%, 73.1% penalty killing is bad. It's horrific. In Carolina, this is the first time I think these two teams have ever met where it's Carolina has the better power play at 27.5%, 82.6% penalty killing. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We have Carolina now -146. This line's moving towards Colorado. When this line came out, I was like, who wouldn't want the Avalanche at this price? But the Hurricanes are 9-3 at home, coming off 3 straight losses. I mean, this is where you want them. This is where they smash and grab. But so I can understand. Even the Hurricane, the line is just tightened. Hurricanes opened up -148. They're now -150. The Avalanche opened up +131. They're now +135. So then from a total standpoint here, we have a 6.5 -114 to the over. It's opened up -108 to the over. So I guess at this point, AOD, great to have you, my man. At this point, if Georgiev is net, we back the Hurricanes on the -1 line, I guess. The Avs are just beaten up. You have Druin out, Oliver Shillington, the defenseman, out. Josh Manson, who at times is the only tough guy on this team, and he has to be an absolute brawler just to defend his teammates. He's out. Of course, Ross Colton and Miles Wood out. So there's a lot missing, especially with Manson out. It's a tough spot. Take it away for us here, Bobano. Avs, Hurricanes.
Yeah, I can't move on this game yet. We got to see who's in net for Colorado. That being said, I have 2 distinct different paths of where I'm going to go depending on that. If it's Georgiev, it's Carolina team total over 3.5, which is cashed in 16 of their last 20 games overall and 9 of their last 11 home games. So that's definitely going to be the move for me. Hurricanes team total over if it's Georgiev. But if it's Scott Wedgwood, who stepped in for Georgiev after he got yanked after that rough first period in Buffalo, he came in and didn't allow a goal after that, allowed the Avs to come back. If it's Wedgwood in net, I'm very tempted to take the plus money here with Colorado against a Carolina team that's finally hit their first little rough patch of the year with these 3 losses in a row. So that's basically where I'm at. Georgiev, give me the Hurricanes team total over. If it's Wedgwood in net, I'll be very interested in a plus money underdog price here with Colorado.
I get it. And Ross Colton on the ice this morning saying Slatsy, our guy. Let's roll on. Here's another situation where it's all predicated on who's between the pipes. I don't know why they keep listing Grubauer at times. I went over the usual rotation. This shouldn't be a Grubauer spot. I don't know why he's listed.
Well, I know RotoWire's got Joey Decord projected, so that makes sense. Yeah.
That's very helpful. That's very helpful. So, because the left wing lock had Grubauer, and I was like, but they often they consider Grubauer the number 1 goaltender from the beginning of the year, so I think they just defer to him. at times. Kraken 12-13-1, 5-7-0 on the road at the Islanders, 9-10-7, 4-5-2 at home at UBS Arena in Elmont. Grubauer is, well, we don't even need to talk about him. Joey Decord is a bet-on goaltender, in my estimation. Ilya Sorokin, 6-6-4, 2.48 goals against average, 9-16 save percentage, one shutout. Seattle power play, 14.6%, 77.4% penalty killing. New York Islanders power play is just being horrific. Without Barzal, it just looks really, really weak. 12.3% power play. The thing that is such a surprise is their penalty killing is atrocious too. We don't usually see this from Islander teams. Part of the reason Pelech is out, because that Pelech-Pulock pairing is so great defensively. Pelech out, Mike Riley out, Barzal out, now Duclair out as well. Duclair's closer to returning. He's been on the ice a little bit over the last couple of games. So I don't think he's coming back here. Seattle snapped their 3-game losing streak with a 4-2 win at Carolina on Tuesday night. Eberle had successful pelvic surgery, but he's out until February. And the Islanders coming off their 4th loss in 5 games, 2-1 overtime at Montreal on Tuesday. These, New York can't score. So these games are, often going under. This under 5.5 is minus 118 to the under, open minus 114 to the under. If you want to go over this 5.5, they're going to give you a plus 105, which is absolutely wild. Then we have Seattle right now at plus 113. That's exactly basically what they opened at, which is a bit of a surprise to me. I don't see why we wouldn't want Seattle. They're a better hockey team than the Islanders without Pelech and Barzal. And if we have Decord and we trust that the Islanders are having struggles scoring, why don't we take the under as well? Take it away for us here, Bobano. Kraken, Islanders in Elmont, New York.
The reason why there may be a reason not to bet Seattle, and I agree with everything you said. Seattle seems like the way you should go in this game. As a small road dog, I still think they're better than now. They've been very erratic. They didn't have a good homestand. They got to give them credit though for beating Carolina to start the road trip. That's a really solid win. What concerns me though about this game for Seattle, and unfortunately, it runs heads up against a trend that has been very strong and kind of a go-to for me. There are really 2 teams, one in each conference, that are thought of as one of the worst teams in the conference. Although San Jose is not playing like it, people think of San Jose as one of the bottom feeders in the West. People think of Montreal as one of the bottom feeders in the East. And there has been very strong numbers backing teams after losing to those respective teams. Teams after losing to San Jose this year are 6-2 in their next game. Teams after losing to Montreal are 7-1 this season in their next game. And that angle, which I've cashed in on a few times, especially of late, once I realized what was happening, that teams, every time they lose to Montreal, they're bouncing back, they're winning their next game. I've been riding this angle. And that angle says bet the fucking Islanders tonight, because they're coming off that loss to Montreal. And it's because, look, Montreal's thought of as a lesser light, a lowly team. It's a blow to the ego. It's a blow to your psyche. It's not a good feeling when you lose to a team like that. That's why these angles make sense. Why losing to San Jose, teams are bouncing back the next game. Losing to Montreal, teams are bouncing back the next game. It says bet the Islanders, but this is the one time I am very reluctant to bet the angle, because I just feel they're a terrible hockey team right now. They haven't played very good at home. So the angle has been strong, though. Very strong. 7-1. Can't go against it. For that reason, I have to lean Islanders, but I don't know. I'm not bullish on pulling the trigger on it. But the angle says the Islanders. The angle's been great.
I also think this is going to be another low-scoring game. And I think maybe that should be the angle I attack. The first period under 1.5, the full game under 5.5. If the concern after losing to Montreal is such a legit trend, and it makes sense psychologically. So and then Seattle losing to San Jose in back-to-back games and then bouncing.
And what
back.
I've seen out of Seattle lately, even though I think they're still better than the Islanders, I wouldn't put it past them to lose tonight. They've been so bloody erratic. The Seattle Kraken as well. They could win this game, should win it, but they've been inconsistent enough that it concerns me. So right now I lean Islanders. You know what I will move on, Jimmy? The Thailanders. We got to take the draw, and I'm going to swing for the fences here tonight to try to improve this record with some draws, and draws that make sense. We're not just betting draws for the hell of it. These are draws that make sense to me. You look at these two teams, they played 2 of the last 3 games, have gone to overtime. The Islanders are back to playing a lot of overtime games. Seattle as well played a few recently. You're getting a plus 330 price at with the draw. I'll take it.
Bobano on the draw at plus 330. And don't forget our guy Scuntbag play of the day number 2 is the Kraken money line at plus 105. Skunt says he's staying off the total. He sees Seattle scoring 5 on their own. Let's roll on. Next up for us, 9 p.m. Eastern, the St. Louis Blues 12-12-2, 7-6-1 on the road at the Calgary Flames, 13-9-4, 10-3-0 at home at Scotiabank Saladome, Calgary, Alberta. Jordan Binnington going up against Dustin Wolf. The Flames are becoming extremely predictable, and they were, a juggernaut at home, and they're losing everything on the road. And it should be trusted. Now, obviously, Monty's changed everything in St. Louis. So it's a tricky one. Binnington, 7-9-2, 2.87 goals against average, 8.99 save percentage, 1 shutout. It's hard to look at the Four Nations Cup and think that Canada can have a chance against the best players in the entire world with the goaltending that we look like we're going to have in that tournament. Dustin Wolf, 8-4-1, 2.59 goals against average, 9.18 save percentage, 1 shutout. St. Louis power play at 15%, penalty killing 79.4. Calgary power play 21.3, penalty killing at 71.3%. When we get to the line history here, we have Calgary at minus 125. They opened up at minus 127. We basically had no movement here on the side. When we get to the total, we have Calgary, St. Louis at 5.5. It's minus 114 to the over. Opened up minus 108 to the over. So we've had 6 cents of movement towards that over. St. Louis comes in off their 3rd loss in 4 games, 4-1. Excuse me, that's their 3rd win in 4 games, 4-1 at Winnipeg on Tuesday. Flames come back home and got back to their winning ways. They defeated Columbus 3-0 on a night where they honored the Goodrow family. It was important, and they stepped up. Is this a letdown spot? They had lost all 4 games on their just completed road trip. Slatsy saying Blues 8-2 last 10 versus the Flames and 5-1 last 6 in Calgary. Philly Eagle Flyer on the Blues money line and first period under 1.5. Robert Franklin on the Blues money line. Bobano, the Flames are 10-3 at home. It's dangerous to fade them. It's a tricky spot. Take it away, Blues Flames.
Yeah, for me, this is definitely, we're going to keep riding this Jim Montgomery Express. Give me St. Louis here, plus 114. I think it's not only betting on St. Louis, who have gone, 3-1? Yeah, 3-1 now since the coaching change. The only loss was in overtime against Philly, beat the Rangers, beat the Devils, beat the Jets in their last game. They're playing good hockey. They're playing great defensively as a team. They're playing, obviously, scoring a little bit more offensively. Look at what Kairu's doing. Look at what Dylan Holloway is doing offensively right now for the Blues. They're just playing a lot better as a team at both ends of the ice, which is great to see. Special teams have been good. And it's not just a bet on St. Louis, who have played some very good hockey with Montgomery coming on board. It's also a fade of Calgary in this spot. The emotion of the other night, they brought Johnny's father into the dressing room after the game, a big win against Columbus. Now, the only fear is Calgary's been very good at home, very, very strong at home. But I just feel coming off that Columbus game and all the emotion of it, this is a tricky spot for the Flames against a team playing really good and renewed confidence for their new coach. So we've been riding St. Louis every game since the change. It's been pretty good. We'll go back to it here, plus 114 for the Blues.
Plus 114 for the Blues for Bobano. Kenny Kencan saying Wedgwood per RotoWire.
It is confirmed, Wedgwood. So that changes. Now, we're not saying Scott Wedgwood's Marty Brodeur, but what I saw from him the other night was a lot better than what I've seen out of Georgiev this season. So, and he gave them a spark, and he's capable in a 1-game situation. So I'm interested in Colorado now. They're in that game.
And Philly Eagle Flyers Vladar expected here, not Dustin Wolf. Does that?
I have it projected as Vladar as well. Not confirmed, just projected. Yep.
Got to give you more confidence.
Yeah, definitely. I'd prefer to take my chances against Vladar, even off a shutout. He did have a shutout against Columbus, and because of that, he'll probably get the start again here. But Vladar can be inconsistent. I've seen this with Vladar. Shutout, and he gives up 4 or 5 the next game. And I like the way the Blues are playing. And again, the big part of this, too, is Calgary off the emotion of the Columbus game. I think it's a very difficult ask for them to have a spirited effort tonight.
It is a tricky spot for them. I'm going to need more time on that one, but I find it interesting. Let's move on to the final spot on the board, 9 p.m. Eastern. The Columbus Blue Jackets 11-10-3, 3-7-2 on the road. The Edmonton Oilers 13-10-2, 5-6-1 at home at Rogers Place in Edmonton, Alberta. Let's get into the line history as well as the injury report, because it is a mighty one. Edmonton is well, let's start with Columbus. Chinnikov is being out with the upper body injury. Of course, Gabranson, who is horrific if you look at Corsi numbers, and Boone Jennings is going to be out, most of the season. But Chinnikov is out. It's the Oilers with Hyman out. Their offenses look very stagnant. Stetcher, who I don't think is that important to the team, out. Victor Arvidsson, he could be back here tonight. They need a boost. Desperately need a boost. Let's get into the line history for this one. This is a 6.5, heavily juiced to the over. Minus 128 to the over. It opened up over 6.5, minus 118, so we had a 10-cent move towards the over. On the money line here, we have the Oilers at minus 270. They opened up at minus 260. This got up to 274 before it came back. Let's get the setup here for you guys. Merzlikins and Skinner are listed. Merzlikins 8-6-2-3, goals against average 894, save percentage. Skinner 8-7-2, 2.97, goals against average 889, save percentage. Both goalies can look good at times, but aren't to be trusted. We have Edmonton power play at 17.7% and 72.1% penalty killing. These were strengths of theirs in prior years. It's very strange. Now, their penalty killing 2 years ago was horrific. But last year was a strength. Columbus had their 2-game winning streak snapped in that 3-0 loss at Calgary on Tuesday. The Oilers coming off a 1-0 loss at Vegas in the game that saw them outshoot the Knights 28-16. There was also, just to show what happened, the Knights are just playing such clean hockey, and I watched it sadly on the Ducks last night. I watched how perfect hockey they're playing in that game, and we'll see it in the playoffs when these two teams meet up, but not one penalty was called. It was absolutely spectacular hockey if you can handle low scoring games. Take it away, Bobano. Jackets, Oilers at Rogers Place.
Yeah, this is definitely system play both ways, and these have been really strong. We talked about the angle of the team off a shutout loss, but when you have both teams off a shutout loss playing each other in the same game like we do here, Columbus and Edmonton, there's been a goal in the first 10 minutes. First period's gone over the total, and the full game's gone over the total. Both previous times, it was two teams off a shutout loss playing each other this season. This is the third time this season. It'll be two teams off a shutout loss playing each other head-to-head. So the angles in play, system play, which I've mentioned on the show now for several weeks with teams off a shutout. Now, not cheap, obviously. We're talking minus 154 is the cheapest price here with over 1.5 in the first period, but we will take it. Over 1.5 minus 154 first period, over 6.5 minus 125 for the full game. System play for me. Be careful with laying this price with Edmonton. Columbus is one of those teams that's given Edmonton a lot of trouble to the tune of 5-1. Can you believe it? 5-1 Columbus the last 6 meetings against the Edmonton Oilers. So I lean Jackets, but I just really, really like the system play overs, and we'll stick with that.
So this is what I think of this game. It's taken me a while. I don't like puck lines with big favorites generally, but the Oilers went into Columbus and got destroyed at the end of October.
Yeah.
Lost 6-1. Goes with what you're talking with statistically.
Yep.
They're coming off of a shutout.
Yep.
They're coming off of a shutout, being shut out when they outshot the Knights 28-16. They're also 5-6-1 at home this year. It feels like a spot where they want to destroy the Columbus Blue Jackets, and I feel like they're more than capable. I wish the Jackets weren't coming off of being shut out themselves.
Yeah.
But this feels like a spot where the Oilers just take care of business.
I wouldn't be shocked by that. From a value standpoint, I lean Columbus just because you're getting plus 225 type of price with a team that's won 5 of 6 against this particular opponent, and a Columbus team that's clearly playing a little bit better than they have in recent years. That being said, a lot of their success has been at home. On the road, there's still some concerns, right, about Columbus, because you look at it, they're 8-3-1 at home. They're still only just 3-9, Jimmy, 3-9 on the road, Columbus. So, yeah, that's going to ultimately keep me off Columbus, and a lot of the points you made are going to keep me off Columbus, because I do worry a little bit that was such a lopsided loss in Columbus earlier this year that maybe Edmonton's just chomping at the bit, and off the Vegas loss. That's why I'm just sticking with my overs, which I like quite a bit.
I'm going to move on the Oilers here. This could be, this will be going on while our NFL live stream is on, which is kind of already puts a bit of a pit in my stomach. But I'm going to be on the Oilers first period minus a half at plus 120. I'm going to be on the Oilers puck line at minus 1.5. It's not perfect because Columbus coming off getting shut out 3-0. It's not perfect, but I feel like that 6-1 game they'll remember. It's the only time they faced each other this year, and they're coming off being shut out by Vegas. They're under 500 at home. I mean, I just don't see how they're not going to be completely locked in. Robert Franklin on the other side with Columbus plus 225. I can understand it, and no one talks a friend off of a dog, so I completely get it. We got to move quicker. We got to move into NFL. Let's review all action here, and there's not a lot of it for me. We have Bobano on the Sabres at plus 120 to get his card started. Be well, Slatsy. Have a great time at the game tonight, my man. Then Bobano's on the Habs at plus 118 and the team total over 2.5 minus 140. I'm interested in this under. And Kyle Hintley on Edmonton regulation. I like it. I'm interested in this under 6. It could even be a 6.5. So I'm going to wait. I'm interested in the Nashville Montreal under. Bobano's on the first period over 1.5, the over 6 in the draw in Detroit, Ottawa. The Sharks first period, I think I'm going to let go. Bobano's on the draw at plus 350 in Florida, Philadelphia in the over 6. We now know that Wedgwood will be in net. I really need to sit with that for a little while before I decide to move, but I think I probably don't. And then the unders in the Seattle New York Islanders game appeal to me. Whether I double up 1.5 and 5.5, I'll have to make that decision. Bobano on the draw at plus 330. Bobano's on the Blues at plus 114, and we're both doubling up in the Oilers Jackets game, just in a different way. Bobano on the over 1.5 first period, and on the full game over 6.5. Then I am on. Well, I haven't bet these yet, but I'm going to be on the first period minus a half in the Oilers puck line to smash and grab. Makes me a little nervous saying it. All right, let's move on to NFL. NFL is next, and then we're going to fire away in college basketball. We're going to have to work real quickly in college basketball, but I believe that we're going to have not too much of a problem doing it. The run in NFL has been going on for a while now. I'm not going to get into how many weeks I've been in the black in a row. Every time I start give exact numbers when I'm running hot, it just doesn't seem to continue. So I'm just going to keep it to myself, but we're running real nice. Last week should have been better. Lost with 7-4 plus 2.56 units. Lost 2 games by a half point. Let's get into the big one here. Packers Lions. I'm on the under 51.5. I think it was Dave Redling who was like, I don't know how you could move on the under with the injuries to the Detroit Lions defense, but we can go over some of these injuries. These guys just keep delivering. They just keep delivering. They just keep playing more than the sum of their parts. And that is, with the way Dan Campbell coaches, I mean, these guys are coming in and they're better than we expected them to play, their backups. But I can understand the concern with it. It's definitely legit, Dave. Jay Peasy, by the way, parlayed EuroLeague action, Zalgiris and Real Madrid here. So we have moves from Jay Peasy here. Big Show picks. Would love if you could be on our live stream tonight, Big Show. I know you watch a lot of these games with your fam, but would love to have you here with us. Let me copy and paste Big Show picks. So at least if you can't jump on the live stream, we can discuss it here during the live stream this evening. By the way, must-watch TV is UFC 310 Locker Room Podcast. It's going to be our showcase video throughout the week. Must watch here. Must watch. So Packers, Lions, Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. I moved on the under 51.5. Troy moved on the Lions -3, minus 120. He's seeing a ton of value in the Lions money line, which I'm sure he's now just waiting as this line is moving towards the Green Bay Packers. It's been moving towards the Green Bay Packers from the jump here. Let me copy and paste. We got a Goff interception at plus 123 for Justin McKelvey. Let me get that here. Okay, let's talk now. My video with Troy is up right now, and it can be looked at any time. So I'm not just going to sit here and repeat myself, but let's go over the important information. We'll start with the line history here. From a line history standpoint, we've seen this giant move towards the Green Bay Packers, and it's just not stopped. Right now, if you want the Packers plus 3.5, it's minus 118. This opened up at 4. When it opened up at 4, it was juiced to the Lions. It's just been a constant move towards the Packers. And still, at this point, we have not seen buyback. I guess you could say we saw a little bit of buyback on Tuesday, a tiny bit of buyback just VIG-wise, but this is just moving towards the Packers constantly. Now, it's not moving in a huge way, but it is moving. On the total here, we have a 51.5 at minus 108. This opened up right there at 51.5 at minus 108. It's not moving. I do believe that this is just too high of a total for a game of this importance. And then everybody, in their head, remembering last year when the Packers came into Detroit on Thanksgiving and destroyed them and put up huge points. It's clear that the Packers are the sharp side. But it's now, the market this is a fair line. And do I really want to fade the Detroit Lions in their most important game of the season here at a 3 with the Packers? And my answer is no. The Lions keep showing character. They keep showing that they're more than the sum of their parts. And I can't do it. We have 42% of the tickets, 34% of cash on the Packers. So clear, sharp action. You have 60% of the tickets and 76% of cash on the over. It's not moving. Now, the bigger bets are on the over. Dubs and Alexander and Jair out, says Kyle Hintlian here. So let's just talk a little bit about the situation. And if Bobano's not back, we'll just roll into a college basketball from here. This Packers passing offense, rushing offense has been very good all year, putting together drives and big plays. But they're just 15th in the red zone at 55.1%, and they're just 16th on third down at 38.2%. And you guys know those are two stats that mean a lot to me. So you're saying that, yes, the Packers are 9-3 and they're 4-1 on the road, but they're just a middle-of-the-road team in the red zone and converting third downs. Their pass defense is 17th. They allow 217.3 yards per game. They're playing without Jair Alexander in this one. And, Corey Ballantyne has been out as well. It's funny that Romeo Dubs is out because they thought that he would be, because he's been practicing. He must have had oh shit. Morgan Spooner says Lipscomb hitting everything. I don't like hearing that at all. Okay. It's okay. There's still some time here. But the Packers coming off their 7th win in 8 games. They beat the Dolphins handily at home. And now we're going to ask them to come into Detroit where it's going to be bananas and deliver here. The Lions, when we talk about third down offense, red zone offense, they're 6th in the league in the red zone. They're 4th in the league on third down. They move the ball with authority. Nick K says public has been getting paid. I don't see it why it stops here. Lions -3 seems free. It's interesting. Their third down defense is the best in the NFL despite all these injuries. Their red zone defense is 2nd best in the NFL, again, despite all these injuries. They've won 10 straight. They know how important this football game is. The injuries keep coming. Look at this pass rush. This pass rush has now lost Marcus Davenport, John Kaminsky, Aiden Hutchinson, Kyle Payco, and then linebackers that help a lot, Alex Anzalone and Derek Barnes. Then they lose Josh Paschal, Levi Onwuzurike as well, Makai Wingo, who's done for the year. Now, Paschal and Onwuzurike could be back, but they lose Malcolm Rodriguez. He was a fill-in linebacker. So now, it's Ezekiel Turner, Quan Alexander, and Ben Neiman who are going to be coming in to play alongside Trevor Nowaski and Jack Campbell. I can't wait to hear Bobano's take. Bobano, take it away here. Our Thursday night football. I'm on the under, and Troy is on the Lions. What's Bobano doing?
This is the Lions have been my boys. It feels like. They've been so good to me. Last year they were. This year, for the most part, they've been good to me. But boy, oh boy, these injuries are concerning. It's at every level of the defense too, and it's Taylor Decker, one of their top offensive linemen as well. They have a strong offensive line. They do have depth there, but Taylor Decker is going to be missed, one of the tackles. And then the defense. Look, they're missing key pieces on the line. They're missing key pieces at linebacker. Rodriguez is the newest one that's out. Of course, now the secondary has well been banged up. I think Arnold's going to play, but I don't think he's been quite 100% the last few weeks. I mean, there's all kinds of issues on all three levels of this Lions defense going into this matchup. And you got a Green Bay team coming into town. What do we know about Green Bay? Good underdogs under Jordan Love. 5-1 against the spread. Last 6 is a dog of more than 3 points for Green Bay and Jordan Love. What do we know, too, about Green Bay, especially this time of year, the month of December? Matt LaFleur and the Packers have been very good in the month of December. They've all consistently played some of their best football the final month of the regular season. And I think that's got a chance to continue here tonight. I like the revenge angle. The Green Bay Packers got smacked by Detroit at Lambeau in that driving rain a few weeks ago. I just think, look, and we saw it in the second half on Thanksgiving against Chicago. That team was limping to the finish line, Detroit, to close that game out. And if not for fuck-ups of epic proportion with the clock from Eberflus, Caleb Williams, and everyone involved, they would have tied that game, maybe even won that game with a touchdown drive. They were limping to the finish line with all those defensive injuries piling up last week. So I'm going Green Bay both ways here. Plus 3.5, minus 115 with Green Bay, and also their team total over 23.5, minus 130.
Packers plus 3.5 at minus 115. And what was your
team total? Packers 23.5, minus 130.
23.5.
Get it below the key number of 24, which I like.
Yeah, no, that all makes sense. All makes perfect sense. Bobano on the Packers plus 3.5, minus 115. It seems clearly like it's the sharp action. Then we have the team total for the Packers over 23.5. I'm on the under 51.5 in this one. It's just games of this magnitude and a total over 50. I find the unders extremely appealing. And that is our Thursday night football game here. That is our Thursday nighter. So we will be join us this evening because it's going to go off right here. So let's roll on. Let's roll on to college basketball. We only have Bobano for 35 more minutes, so we got to be very tight here. So let's get ready to roll on. The next spot on the board here, we have 1 p.m. Eastern action. We have PFW Mastodons 5-3. This is their first game in the horizon for the season at the Detroit Mercy Titans. We're in Detroit, Michigan for this one. Let's set up the line history here. Let's move over here and get this all going. All right. We have 35 minutes. We got to be tight, but we can do this. We have...
Oh, we will do it because there's some games I have zip on, so we will do it.
Sounds good. PFW minus 7.5 at minus 106. They opened up at minus 8, and this got all the way down to a 6.5. 6.5 about 55 minutes ago. There's been some buyback now on PFW. They're back at 7.5. We get to the total here for this one. We have a 146. It's a 146 at a pick'em, but this has come down from 148. So we've moved 2 points towards the under. Let's get into the cash flow for this one. We should have information on all of these games. So from a cash flow perspective, 38% of tickets and 46% of the cash on IPFW, 87% of tickets, 88% cash on the over, and yet this total is dropping. Jermaine says these overs been popping in Thursday games. Yeah, no, I know they have. Look, you stick by your guns and deal with the consequences, and we'll be rocking tonight, and we'll see how it all bangs out.
Late season division games, late season, I'm talking about December and on stuff, trended more to the under. So that's the counter argument to the Thursday nights being chock full of overs.
Yes, and we just know when games are more important, every play is more important. It's the strategy becomes more important. You want to keep the opposition off the field, and we'll talk all about that as we go through. But I'm comfortable with the spot here. But let's talk about this one here. PFW comes in off their second win in 3 games, 77-57 over a weak East Texas A&M Lions squad on Saturday as 9.5-point favorites. So 1 by 20, 9.5-point favorites. Detroit Mercy comes in off snapping their 3-game losing streak on Saturday. They defeated Eastern Michigan 98-89 in overtime as 7.5-point dogs. Take it away for us here, Bobano. Any interest in PFW Detroit Mercy?
No, this is a pass for me. I will just say this. Purdue-Fort Wayne's definitely the better team. If they're making shots, they are going to roll. but there's been something about the Detroit Mercy Titans. They've been feisty in some games. They've covered some of these numbers, but a lot of them have been bigger dogs. They've been double-digit dogs. I don't know if I'm comfortable taking them only getting 8 when I know IPFW's the better team. So it's a pass for me.
Yeah, I don't find either side appealing at this number. So I am off. I do think that the early under has some appeal. I noticed that you're not on the over. Did that early under, did you have any? Why are you not interested in the over, which is one of your go-to spots?
This one I don't love it because Detroit will try to slow it down a little bit. Their shooting is very erratic. IPFW is a good offensive team, and they will push pace. So from an IPFW standpoint, they play very fast, top 50 in tempo, but I don't know if Detroit's going to carry their side of it enough offensively to get that game over the total.
Okay, I have some interest in this full game under. We have 32 minutes before it pops off, so I will have to see. I mean, we'll have time though. We'll have time. 32 minutes before that pops off. Let's move on to the next spot on the board for us, Bobano. 3:30 p.m. Eastern. We have the Alabama State Hornets 3-5, 0-5 on the road at the Southern Miss Golden Eagles 3-4, 3-0 at home at Red Green Coliseum in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Already heard cappers in the chat backing Southern Miss here and beating this line move. Let's discuss the line move here. We have the total up, so why don't we start there? This total is at 150. It's heavily juiced to the under. We see 149s, 149 and a halves, but this has come down from 152. So we're moving down here. Let's get to the spread. From a spread perspective, we've had a huge move towards Southern Miss. They opened up at -2 and moved to -5.5, and then there was a half point of buyback at 5. Let's get to the cash flow then. We have 24% of the tickets and 45% of the cash on Alabama State. But, man, the books show no concern about anybody who's on them. 77% of tickets, 73% cash on the over. Res Mob, the respect. I like that. Respect play of the day is Detroit Mercy plus 4.5. First half at -120. That's copied and pasted. Respect play of the day. Let's talk about this spot here and see what Bobano thinks. The Hornets coming off their third straight loss, 101-72 at SMU on Tuesday as 21.5 point dogs. They were manhandled on the boards, 56-34. They shot just 34.8% from the field. They shot 31.7 from 3. They also played and play pretty clean basketball. They only turned the ball over 8 times. They've spent almost the entire season on the road, the entire season. They faced some tough competition too. They played at UNLV, they played at LSU, at Cincinnati, and they're coming from facing SMU. Southern Miss comes in off snapping their 3-game losing streak with a 66-65 win at home over Milwaukee on Saturday as 2.5 point dogs. They shot 10 of 23 from 3, while Milwaukee shot just 3 of 16. So they, despite outscoring them 30-9 from 3, they only defeated them by a point. Sancho in the house, great to see you, my man. I don't know if I can get in the way of this market move, but I kind of liked, and I probably shouldn't unless I hear from you, man, but I kind of liked the Alabama State spot here. They can just shoot somewhat decently. But take it away for us here, Hornets, Golden Eagles in Hattiesburg.
Oh, totally. I was going to be on Alabama State before the line move. I'm absolutely on Alabama State now at the current number. I'm shocked there's this much love for Southern Miss. It's not a good basketball team. They haven't faced a tough schedule. What, because Alabama State got absolutely crushed the last 2 games by pretty good competition, LSU and Cincinnati. We're going to downgrade them a ton. I like their backcourt. It's a solid backcourt. This is a Southern Miss team that is terrible as far as defending around the rim as well. Their 2-point defense is atrocious. You can easily get to the basket against the Golden Eagles. I think there's advantages both ways, not to mention a guy that was obviously at one point a pretty good big major program player. Andre Curbelo is suspended for Southern Miss, a huge loss for them right now going into this game. So I'm absolutely floored, unless there's some kind of injury, and you can't find out shit about injuries with a school like Alabama State. So good luck with that. But unless someone's hurt and we don't know about it, and that's why this line's moved. To me, this line move just doesn't make sense to me. Alabama State plus 5.5, -115.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So Bobano has moved on Alabama State plus 5.5 at -115. I felt it moving in the direction of Southern Miss, and I was like, okay, well, I mean, this was at midnight, 1 a.m., and I was like, okay, well, let's see what it is this morning. And then waking up at 5.5, I was like, well, what am I missing here? Very, very, very interesting. 21 long neck also on Alabama State. Kent Davies says this is a Hornet spot. Join me. I'd like to. I expect to. And I'll have to. I'd like to move on this soon because I think there's legit buyback happening right now. So we will continue to talk about the spot. Let's move on though. 6:30 p.m. Eastern. We have the number 8 ranked Purdue Boilermakers, 7-1. First game in the Big Ten here at Penn State Nittany Lions, 7-1. We're at Bryce Jordan Center in University Park, Pennsylvania. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We have Purdue +1 at even money. They opened up at +1.5, so a half-point move. We'll probably get a better idea if we go to the money line. So on the money line, we have Purdue at +106. They opened up at +113. So, a move on the money line towards Purdue, even though, and on the spread from +1.5 to +1. So it's 9 cents away from Penn State, -132 to -123. Let's get into the total. From a total perspective, we have a 150. It's -111 to the under. Opened up at 149.5. Now at 150. So we have a half-point move to the over. We get to the cash flow. Here, we have 55% of the tickets, 51% of the cash on the spread on Purdue. On the money line, it's just 22 and 28. So Penn State public and the line's not moving towards them. 91% of tickets and 92% of cash on the over. Purdue comes in off defeating NC State 71-61 at home on Thursday. They followed up with an 80-78 victory over Ole Miss on Friday as 4.5-point favorites. So they've been off now for 6 days. They shot 54.2 from the field, 45.5 from 3 in the victory. Penn State bounced back from their first loss of the season, 75-67 at home to Clemson, by beating up on the Buffalo Bulls at home on Sunday, 87-64. They didn't cover, 28.5-point favorites. Take it away for us, Bobano. Purdue, Penn State.
Very interesting game. Purdue is obviously much more battle-tested. They've played a very, very tough schedule so far, to put it mildly, and they've held up pretty solid against a lot of these opponents that they've played. They beat Ole Miss. They obviously took down Alabama earlier this season. So there's definitely, and Penn State, when I watch them, I think they're a very, very good team. It's probably the best team they've had in a long time. But the fact remains, their best opponent is probably Clemson on the road. They lost 75-67. They just haven't faced a very tough slate of quality opponents, the likes of which they will face here tonight with Purdue. Meanwhile, like I said, with Purdue, we're talking about NC State. We're talking about Ole Miss. We're talking about Marquette, Alabama. I mean, they really have been tested, this team, no question about it. That being said, Purdue's only faced one team on a true road game so far, and it was that Marquette game, their one loss, where they got beaten down 76-58. So I lean Penn State, honestly, but I don't love the strength of schedule discrepancy. I don't trust Purdue on the road consistently away from Mackey. But I feel like I need to see a little bit more from Penn State before I'm ready to trust them against a team of this caliber. And Purdue has owned them. It is worth noting as well. Purdue has indeed won, how many in a row against Penn State? 8? 8 straight wins for Purdue in the series. It's tough to go against that. Let me see because I am a little bit interested in the over in this game. Let me see what the total is here. Especially we saw 95-78 last year when these two teams played. I think that's the move for me rather than side is total. I think both teams offensively have advantages. Penn State likes to force turnovers. Purdue's got a great backcourt, doesn't usually like turn it over very much. So I think that means both teams are going to have their share of success offensively. Plus, I'm not convinced post-Zach Edey, Purdue is nearly as good defensively this year. So let's go with that. Purdue, Penn State over 149.5 -108.
Over 149.5 at -108 for Bobano in the Boilermakers, Nittany Lions. Let's roll on to 7:30 p.m. Eastern.
If I had to bet a side, it would be Penn State, but I'm going to pass.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I'm going to stay off of that one here. Let's move on. 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Stephen F. Austin Lumberjacks, 5-3, have played some pretty good ball this year at the UT Rio Grande Valley Vaqueros, who've also played very good ball. 4-3.
F on F. Austin. Interesting.
They are opening up their Southland action here. Let's get into the line history for this one. Oh, sorry, it's the wrong page. Let's get into the line history. We have SF Austin. From a total scenario, we're at 143 minus 117 to the over. This has come up from 141.5. So a real legit move to the over. On the spread, we have SF Austin +5 at minus 107. This has come down from 6.5, 1.5 point move towards SF Austin. When we get to the cash flow here, I think this will be quite telling. We have 66% of the tickets on SF Austin and just 13% of the cash. That's wild. I did not expect that. 93% of the tickets and 90% of cash on the over. So not a lot of money, but the market clearly moving in that direction. Very, 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 very interesting. SF Austin comes in off their third straight win, winning at UL Monroe 68-60 as 4.5 point favorites on Friday. UT Rio Grande Valley, they've been off for 10 days. So they followed up almost upsetting Wisconsin 87-84 as 20.5 point dogs in Madison by beating up on Lemoyne 97-77 as 13.5 point favorites. Bobano, my man, take it away. Lumberjacks, Vaqueros.
Yeah, two bets here. I like the UT Rio Grande Valley side, -5, -110. And I also agree with the move to the over here, 142.5, -112 with that. UT Rio Grande Valley going to push pace. Being at home, I think they got the potential to dictate the tempo, dictate the terms here in this game against Stephen F. Austin. Bart Torvik's got projected 146 as far as total points in this game, which is clearly off from where this number is. So that's why I see value with the over. Again, 26th in the country in tempo for UT Rio Grande Valley. Very good offensive team. That's definitely something that should benefit them here as well. Stephen F. Austin will be a little bit more methodical, no question about that. But one thing that should work well for them here in this particular game is the fact that UT Rio Grande Valley does struggle around the rim defensively, and Stephen F. Austin does have some size down there to maybe take advantage of that. Again, this team is only 347, 2-point defense. So I think they can score enough. Grand Valley will push the pace. So I think we go over the total. I think Rio Grande Valley is just the better side right now. I don't think this is one of the better Stephen F. Austin teams. So I like the home favorite and the over here.
What was the number that we got here on this one, Bobana? We got -5 at what juice?
-5 at -110. Yeah, just flat one, -110. Yep.
Okay, perfect. And the over was what?
And the over is 142.5 -114.
Over 142.5 at -114. We are locked and loaded for Bobano. Let's move on to the next spot on the board. 8 p.m. Eastern, the Cleveland State Vikings opening up their Horizon account, 4-5 on the year at the Milwaukee Panthers, 5-4, also playing their first Horizon game. We're at UW Milwaukee Panther Arena in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Now, we already talked about the UW Milwaukee game. We just discussed it. That was against Southern Miss. Southern Miss outscored him 30-9 from 3 and only beat Milwaukee by a single point here. Let's talk about the line history and the cash flow for this one. We have Cleveland State +8 at -108. It has not moved. +8 -108. And then when we get to the total here, we have, sorry, taking 1 second here. We have a total of 140.5 -120 to the over. We see 141s and 141.5s. Let's get into the cash flow. From a cash flow perspective here, we have 30% of the tickets, 10% of the cash on Cleveland State. Interesting. 92 and 92 on the over. 92 and 92 on the over. Cleveland State coming off their third loss in 4 games. The last 3 where they lost 2 of 3, all came at home. They fell 71-69 at home to Moorhead State. That was on Friday. Milwaukee's now lost 2 in a row on the road, and now they come back home where they've looked quite good this year. Take it away for us, Bobano, Cleveland State, Milwaukee.
I just don't know if I want to lay 8, though. That's the thing. I mean, I agree that Milwaukee probably does win this game. Laying 8's a little bit of a tricky proposition. That being said, Cleveland State 0-3 against the spread. Their only win was against a lousy, pretty bad NJIT team. They were 12-point favorites. They only won by 3. So this feels like a good spot for Milwaukee coming back home after the back-to-back losses to UCF and Southern Miss. So we'll see how this one plays out here. But like I said, I think for Milwaukee, it sets up decently. You look at the series history. They played in Milwaukee last year. The points scored were 168 with Milwaukee. This is a team playing at home that's going to push tempo as well. Pretty good in that regard. 143 in the country. Cleveland stand. Both teams, by the way, Milwaukee definitely better offensively than defensively as well. So there's another one where it's over for me, Jimmy, with the total. I think it's a little bit light, especially considering we saw a very high scoring game when these teams met last year here in Milwaukee. So yeah, over 141 minus 110.
Bobano on the over 141 at minus 110. I'm sweating out this first half. How did Lipscomb get the ball back? They got the foul. They hit their shot. It should have been. I thought. Of course, I'm not watching it live. I'm watching it here.
Yeah, it's like right down to the wire on it. Because what did you get? Plus 9.5. Yeah.
Yeah, and I imagine this is 2 foul shots coming up for Lipscomb with 9 seconds left. Oh God, I hate this shit. Want to start the day off with a win bad. Bobano on the over 141. That's 141 flat, right? No hook. 141 minus 110.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Minus 141 minus 110. Yep.
Oh no, this was right. No, my shit was flawed. Oh no, what the hell's going on in this basketball? Yes, foul Lipscomb, down 8. Come the fuck on, man. I need to get this started with the victory. Gotta get it started with the victory. Come on. Need a day today. Come on, say 0 seconds left. I know we're rushing with Bobano. No, don't hit this 3. Tell me the half is over. Fuck's sakes. Okay. We have 8 p.m. Eastern action, the Big 12 Big East battle. Xavier Musketeers 7-1. First real road game of the year at TCU Horned Frogs 4-3, 4-0 at home. We're in Fort Worth, Texas here. Thank you, Rod. Good God. I'm gonna have so much action today.
Point lead at the half. Yep.
So much action today. Let's have a giant day. It's very important. Start off with the win and let's start stacking them.
9-point lead at the half, actually. 37-28. Yep.
Good God. Okay. Sorry to make this all about me. I apologize. Let's get back to action. So the Big 12 Big East battle. Xavier TCU here. I wonder if I should. Okay, I'll put all this shit. Sorry. Okay. Sorry, a little flustered. You guys know how important this shit is. All right, this total is at 146.5. It's just dropped to 145.5 11 minutes ago. This opened up at 144.5. It went up 2 points, and we've just had a point of buyback. Let's get to the spread here in this one. We have also these Thursdays, Bobano, and I don't mean to put more pressure on you, but they've been very successful for me, which is part of the reason why I'm not, doing this on my own. Because even on games where you don't move on them, your information is extremely important. Let's get into the side. So side here, we have TCU -1 at -108. Again, this will be the type of spot where we want to get the money line instead. But interestingly enough, this went -1, -1.5, and then it flipped. TCU became 1.5 point dogs. At 10:27 a.m., they were 1.5 point dogs. We'll get a better idea if we talk about the money line here. On the money line, we have, let's move over here. Sorry, guys. On the money line, we have right now Xavier at -102. They opened up at +102. They got up to -119 at 9:30 this morning. So interesting market movement. When we get to the cash flow here, we have 49% of tickets, 47% of cash on Xavier on the spread, 43 and 45 on the money line. So very 50-50. But we have 79% of tickets and 73% of cash on the over. We saw that go up 2 points and then drop a point. So that is the situation. X's and O's, Xavier bounced back from that 78-53 ugly loss at home versus Michigan by beating up on SC State. Beating them up. Beating them up? What am I talking about? 71-68. Sorry, I'm tripping out there. Still a little flustered. I needed that win to start off the day. 71-68 is how they beat South Carolina State. South Carolina State's not a good basketball team. They were Xavier was 26.5 point favorites. So that's back-to-back eggs that Xavier has laid. And now they go face TCU, who's also coming off 2 losses. They lost to Santa Clara. Then they lost to Colorado State at home in overtime. That wasn't at home. That was in, my bad. That was a neutral site game where they lost. My bad. That was at the Acrisure Invitational in Palm Springs. Take it away for us, Bobano, Xavier, TCU.
Yeah, I like TCU here. I do. I just look, they're off 2 pretty poor losses, right? Santa Clara and Colorado State losing back to back, but they're back home. You've got a ranked team favored on the road against an unranked home underdog. That's usually an angle where I like to back the home team. And I don't know, Xavier to me has not been as impressive as I thought they would be. An excellent team this year. And, their one really true test was against Michigan. They got blown out in that game, 78-53. We'll see how they fare here. TCU, though, this is often a very tough home court. And I think it's just a little adventurous here to make Xavier a road favorite here in this spot. I do like TCU plus 1 and actually plus 1.5 minus 125. We can get. I also like over the total. I agree with this move. You got 2 teams right on the fringe in the top 100 in pace. I know Xavier's been a big under team, but TCU will push at home. I think Xavier will get some better looks here against this particular defense, which has been a little erratic for TCU. I think TCU can shoot the ball, though, well enough at home. Pace should be good enough. So I like over 145.5 minus 112 as well.
Over 145.5 at minus 112 for Bobano in the Big 12 Big East battle. Next up for us, we head to Valparaiso, Indiana. We move on to Drake Bulldogs, 7-0 to start the year, opening up their Missouri Valley Conference schedule. This team is just winning and winning by margin. They look dominant. Now, flashback to 2 Thursdays ago. Bobano gave us Drake plus 10.5 against the Miami Hurricanes, and they won outright by 11. The Valparaiso Beacons had their 3-game winning streak snapped in a road game at DePaul, but they looked very good on their home floor, except for that Cleveland State loss. Let's get to the line history here for this one. We have this total at 136.5, opened up 137.5. We've dropped 1 point. And then on the spread, we have 10.5. Minus 10.5, minus 105. This opened up at minus 11. We have a half-point move towards Valpo. And when we get to the cash flow here, we have, it went wrong direction. When we get to the cash flow, we have 57% of the ticket, 69% of cash on Drake, 95 and 93 on the over, and it's dropped a point. Take it away for us here, Bobano, Bulldogs, Beacons in Indiana.
Yeah, this is Drake or pass for me, but I don't want to lay 10.5 for a team that hasn't played a true road game. That being said, Drake destroyed Valpo twice last year, 81-70, and it was even worse in Valparaiso, 83-65 in favor of Drake. So I don't have, and I like this Drake team. I've cashed with this Drake team a few times. I think one of the times was on this show when they played Miami in that neutral court tournament, and they won outright 80-69. I mean, I don't want to step in front of Drake, but it's their first true road game, laying doubles. Doesn't feel like a value spot. Doesn't seem like the best buy low, bet on spot for Drake, but they dominated this team last year. I won't step in front of that. Let's see here with the Valpo. They 89-70, 80. They gave up 82 points to Northern Illinois. Why is this total dropping? Why? Last year there was 151 and 160 and 148 as far as total points in these two matchups. Between these two teams. Bart Torvik has 138 as the projected total for this game, and that's like the Bible of college basketball statistics for me, that site. Why is this total dropping? I don't get it. It's going in the wrong direction. Give me over 136, minus 108 official.
Over 136 flat, minus 108 here in Drake Valparaiso. Shout out to our guy MMA Locker Room here, one of the stars of our hit UFC podcast, the Locker Room podcast, UFC 310 this week. It'll be our showcase video all week, the hottest show on our channel. Shout out to MMA Locker Room. Rod Zawacki just said Detroit Mercy under first half 5-0 this season after a game they covered starts in 10 minutes. Take the under. He's on the first half under 69. I now with the confidence of starting the day 1-0 just moved on the full game under. I've not tweeted it out yet. I just bet it under 146.5 at minus 110 at 365. So I took the full game. We have 4 games left and 7 minutes here with Bobano. So let's work quickly. This is a part, like, I wish we filled this here with these West Coast games. I love breaking them down. I love the Big West. I love what Bobano does with the Big West. But we only picked a few of them because we just don't have enough time with Bobano. So let's roll into our first spot here. 9 p.m. Eastern with the Cal Poly Mustangs, 5-4, opening up their Big West account at the UC Davis Aggies, who are 3-4. We're in Davis, California for this. Cal Poly's won back-to-back. They won at home over Grambling State. Then they beat Stanford 97-90 last weekend. The UC Davis Aggies are coming off back-to-back losses, lost badly to Norfolk State, and then lost even worse at Oregon State 90-57. They've lost 3 of their last 4. They also played at Stanford. They lost 79-65, while Cal Poly went in and took the win 97-90. Let's get into their Shy Archie in the house. Shout out to everybody in Chicago. Great to see you, Shy Archie. Let's get into the line history here of this one. Cal Poly, UC Davis. We have UC Davis minus 2.5 and minus 108. This opened up minus 1.5 and minus 112. So we have the 1-point move towards UC Davis, despite, if you look at that similar foe as an angle for betting, which would lead you, of course, to Cal Poly. This totals at 158.5 at minus 112. It opened up at 158.5. It was up at 159.5 until about 29 minutes ago when it dropped a little bit. When we get to the cash flow here for this 9 p.m. start, we have 40% of the tickets, 55% of the cash on Cal Poly. It's clearly moving towards UC Davis. Then we have 46% of tickets, 43% cash on the over. Bobano, my friend, take it away. Our next spot on the board, Cal Poly Mustangs, UC Davis Aggies.
I'm going to get back to the well with my little golden meal ticket here in Cal Poly. This has been a team that's been cashing for me repeatedly. I'm not convinced UC Davis is the better of these two teams anyway. Give me +3, minus 112 here with Cal Poly. I like what I'm seeing from them. They went to Stanford, won outright against the Cardinal. They hung tough with a very good St. Mary's team. They took Arizona State down to the wire on the road. They beat Eastern Washington on the road outright as a dog. I mean, what are we looking at? 4-0 ATS on the road this year. It's a no-brainer for me to take +3 here with Cal Poly. I like the way they're playing. They're an excellent offensive team. They push pace extremely well. So does Davis. This should be a fun game, exciting. A lot of points between these two teams. Davis has had the better of this team. 5 straight head-to-head victories, but this is by far the best Cal Poly team in the bunch. I'm not convinced Davis is as good. They've lost 3 in a row, and there's a common opponent. We just saw Cal Poly beat that Stanford team on the road. Well, Cal Poly lost by 14 to that same Stanford team, or UC Davis lost by 14 to that same Stanford team. So I definitely like this game with Cal Poly +3. I also like the over. It's a high total, but you're going to get extreme pace. So I like over 158, minus 110 as well.
Over 158, minus 110. Cal Poly +3, minus 112. We got to keep moving. Next up, 10 p.m. Eastern, we have the St. Louis Billikens, 5-2 on the year, playing their first real road game of the year at San Francisco Dawn, 6-2, 5-0 at the Sobrado Center in San Francisco, California. We watched San Francisco lose to the Dawn lose to Memphis 68-64, and then lose by 15 to Clemson. Then they bounced back, beat up on Fordham by 21, and then just destroyed Mercer. Last out, beat them badly. Oh, it wasn't Mercer. Sorry. It was the Mercyhurst Lakers. It's my bad. Jeez, I thought that was Mercer. We have St. Louis Billikens off 3 straight wins. The last one was pretty impressive against Jackson State. It was Jackson State, but St. Louis shot 52.8 from the field and 40% from three. But now they head out onto the road. Let's get on to the line history here for this one and the cash flow on the total here. We have a 152, which is exactly where it opened. So we've had no movement on this total. When we get to the point spread here for this one, we have a -8.5. This line's moving towards the Billikens. Opened up at 9. I went to 8.5. Got did it get back? No, it never got back 9. This was a 7.5 though. 2 hours or an hour and a half ago was a 7.5. So there's a legit move on the Billikens. When we get to the cash flow for this one, we have 58% of tickets on St. Louis, just 47% of cash, 82 and 83 on the over though. Take it away for us here, Bobano, the Dons at the Sobrado Center.
Yeah, I'm tempted by St. Louis. I think I love the hire they made with Josh Schertz, who comes over from Indiana State, who did a nice job coaching that program. He's now the head coach with St. Louis, and he brought Robbie Avila, one of his best players, with him from Indiana State to St. Louis, who's been banged up, but he's playing tonight. And Ron Crawford's onto that in the chat. It's a significant piece to this Billikens team. Jimerson, they've got experience, they've got shooters. I thought they did very well as far as bringing in some quality, good players in the transfer portal. They haven't been firing on all cylinders this year, necessarily, especially ATS. They're only 1-5 against the spread. They lost their opener to Santa Clara. They lost by 25 at Wichita State. Their one true road game, which is probably the one concern I have, is that the one true road game, and they got walloped in it by Wichita State. A tough travel spot here as well for St. Louis, but I feel there's going to be some opportunities to back them. Do I want this to be tonight? And San Francisco is a very solid team, been very good at home so far this season, and that includes a win against Boise, 84-73 on this zone. I just don't know if I want to step in front of the home floor, where this team has been very impressive so far this year. And they didn't cover the last game, but that was a big number, and they still won 87-59. So lean St. Louis. I'm ultimately probably going to pass, though.
How long was Avila out of the lineup for?
He's missed several games in a row. Let me just double check on that, because I'm pretty sure that this has been a guy that's been out for a bit of time here for this St. Louis Billikens team. I'm just looking at the overall stats here. He came back against Jackson State, and actually 3 games he's been back. I beg your pardon. Jackson State, he was in there. UMass Lowell, Quinnipiac. Those were the 3 games he's played.
Okay, I have interest in St. Louis. I'm going to have to study it a little more. I did just bet Alabama State. +5 at -110. 365. That's become much more heavily juiced at the offshores. But I did just move on it at 365 +5 at -110. Okay, we got. Can we do these last 2 games real quick, Bobano, before you bounce?
We'll
Okay,
quick,
beautiful. Thank you so much for your time, man. Next spot for us is UC San Diego Triton, 6-2, opening up their Big West account at the UC Santa Barbara Gauchos, 6-1. We're in the Thunderdome in Santa Barbara for this one. Morgan Spooner says St. Louis has played only home and neutral spot games, and that Wichita spot state was neutral. So this St. Louis first road game, this is a true home game in San Francisco gym and not the NBA gym.
Oh, that was a good point, Morgan. You're right. I missed that. I messed up there. It was a neutral game against Wichita. Still looks bad though, losing by 25.
That's interesting. So
this is its first true road game here. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Morgan. I will spend more time with that spot here before I move on it. The Tritons have won 4 straight. The last one was against Div 3 college, didn't matter, but before that, this was at home in San Diego. They beat up on Toledo. They're playing good basketball. Oh, I guess those were neutral site games too. What am I talking about? Sorry, those weren't at home here. That was the Boardwalk Battle in Daytona Beach. So they have traveled and played well while traveling. That was a really nice run. They dominated their opposition. They didn't dominate LaSalle and James Madison, but they destroyed Toledo. So they've been off for a while because you don't really count that Div 3 game as anything. Santa Barbara's won 2 straight, beat Eastern Washington 67-51. Very impressive. Very impressive. And now they have just destroyed Mississippi Valley State 81-48, where they shot 50 from the field, 37 from 3. And only turned the ball over 7 times. Now they were 31.5 point favorites, but so they're a weak competition here. going up against San Diego. So San Diego, Santa Barbara. Let's take a look at the line history here for this one. We have UC San Diego plus 2.5 at -110. They opened up at plus 1.5. This was a 3-2 until about an hour and a half ago when it moved back to 2.5. And then on the total, we have, here we go, we have a 140. This opened up at 137.5. So this is climbing. In fact, 50 minutes ago, this went from 138.5 to 140. So this total is climbing. When we get to the cash flow here, 48% of the tickets are on UC San Diego, but just 20% of the cash. The Gaucho is getting the bigger bets, line moving in their direction. 91 and 91 on the over. Morgan says Toledo played 2 really bad games. Their coach messed with their minutes in those games. He didn't care about the score and is trying to get ready for MAC play. The same thing happened in the Toledo-Oakland game. Take it away from the Juice in the house saying Triton spot here. Take it away for us, Bobano, San Diego Tritons, Santa Barbara Gauchos in the Thunderdome.
This is another one where, look, this is a team that's been very good to me here. UC San Diego, the Tritons. I like the way they've played. First game of the year at San Diego State, lost by 5, covered the number, wire to wire. They also faced JMU, Toledo. They've at least faced a couple of pretty solid teams. I can't say that about, UC Santa Barbara. They really have faced nothing but weak sister after weak sister. And that's definitely concerning here when I look at this game. There's definitely a little bit of a schedule edge for San Diego, the Tritons. You look at head-to-heads, UC San Diego beat them both times last year. It really wasn't even close. They won outright as a dog here last year, 79-72. I don't know what changes. I think they're the better team. I don't think this is as good a Gaucho. Gauchos have been good in the Big West in the past. I don't think this is one of their better teams necessarily. I think there's some, I don't think offensively they've been consistent one game to the next when it's all said and done. They've had some games where they faced better competition where on defense they give up 86 to Fresno, 79 to UTEP. So I'm not even all that convinced their defense is nearly as good either at that end of the court. I think UC San Diego's the side I'm looking at here, and I will lock that in here with the Tritons of UC San Diego. Plus 3.5, a minus 118 with them here at the Thunderdome, and hopefully they can get it done. We just need to cash another bet at the Thunderdome. Hopefully we can do that here tonight with UC San Diego.
I love it. And that UC San Diego spot was what, Juice?
Plus 3.5, minus 118.
Plus 3.5, minus 118. Okay, I'm not going to go up against Morgan Spooner in that Billikens Dawn spot. That doesn't make sense. Also,
I don't like the first true road spot backing it. Even at a good number like that, 9.5. Yep. Yeah, and that's a good San Francisco court, and that's a good San Francisco team. I agree. It's enough to keep me off it.
Yeah, that's great. This is all teamwork and all coming together here. And also the live. I thought it tipped off. I thought we saw. No, it has not tipped off yet. And it's gone up.
Was Tina Turner saturated? Of course. One of her.
Let's rock to our final spot here on the board. Great job, Bobano. Cal State Bakersfield Roadrunners 4-4, opening up their Big West account against the mighty UC Irvine Anteaters, 8-0 to start the year. They've looked very, very good, and they looked very good in the Western Slam, which they won in Lethbridge, Alberta, in front of ones of people. 52.2 from the field, 50% from 3. Turned the ball over 20 times, but it didn't matter. That's how well they were shooting. Devin Tills went for 25. We have the other side. Bakersfield's lost 3 of 4, coming off a 74-64 road loss on Saturday to Southern Utah. Now, they were 3.5 point dogs, Southern Utah, but they didn't look good. They scored 23 points in the first half, did not look good. Let's get into the cash flow here and the line history. Line history wise, we have this total at 134.5, juice to the under. It's come up from 133.5, so it's moved up a point. And then on the point spread here, we have on the point spread, We got UC Irvine as 16-point favorites. They opened up as 15-point favorites. It's moved a point in their direction. When we get to the cash flow, UC Irvine only has 28% of the tickets, but they have 89% of the cash. Wow, 84 and 86 on the over. Is this too many points for the Anteaters as they start their Big West portion of their schedule?
Yeah, it could be. It could be a few too many. They're a good team, Irvine, no question about that. But you are talking a pretty big number here. In this kind of a price range with them. And you look at Bakersfield here going into this spot, they've obviously had their ups and downs, and that's putting it mildly so far this year, 4-4. It's perfect representation of where they're at. They've had some pretty solid games, beating Fresno, beating North Dakota State, and then they've had some losses here that don't look that great, losing to certainly Southern Utah, 74-64, wasn't one of their best games last time out. We'll see how they fare here. I've seen them now as road underdogs 3 times, and they went 0-3 against the spread in those games. We'll see if that carries over here. Last year, though, they were a big dog in this building. They only lost by 6, so we'll see if they can do that here. We've seen one piece of evidence of Irvine as actually they've been double-digit favorites 3 times. They've covered 2 of them. The 2 of them were, I believe, true home games for them against Kennesaw and Pepperdine. They won pretty big. We'll see how this one plays out. Right now, nothing for me in this game. There is one West Coast game, though, I do want to add, even though it wasn't on the list, and that's Cal Riverside. Riverside, motherfuckers. I like them here tonight. I like this team. They're in a good spot, in my opinion, against CS Northridge. You can get +5, -110. Cal Riverside. I like them plus the points. The Highlanders against the Matadors of CS Northridge.
You are locked in. We got to let Bobano go, Morgan. He wants to know about South Carolina State Samford. Have you looked at that game at all? Because I don't mean to keep you here. I know you got to rock. Have you? And by the way,
I like that Samford team. Buckyball, shoot a lot of threes. Very, very good offensive team. Obviously, every single year. You are right about the fact that as far as road environment, they haven't had many of them this year. Do I trust South Carolina State enough is the question. Look, they're coming off a couple of impressive performances. Xavier, they only lost by 3 as a big 26-point dog in that game. Now, is that either a hangover or can they bring it here against Samford? That's going to end up being the question. What does concern me for South Carolina State here in this game, like I said, maybe a little bit of the hangover factor from that Xavier performance. Also, is that perimeter D going to be able to hold up for them against a team that shoots a lot of threes? And that's going to be something to keep an eye on here in this particular matchup, because if you look at the statistics here for South Carolina State this year, they've actually done a solid job, against the three-point line, 29.7% shooting allowed from three-point range. It's, top 80 in the country. That gives them a puncher's chance. So I did not bet that game because of my respect for Samford, but I do lean a little bit to that home dog there, South Carolina State. So hopefully there's your answer.
Bobano, you scripted out that Southeast Missouri State Lipscomb game to a T. Lipscomb has outscored Southeast Missouri State 16-2 to start the second half.
Yeah, aren't you glad you just went first half, huh?
And we should keep an eye on
second half team Lipscomb. Yep.
Yeah. Wow. Great stuff, Bobano. Bobano, I will review all your action so you can just run. I know you got a big Ice Guys show. Thank you so much for your time. Bobano, the star of the Ice Guys. He is the star of Hitting the Books, Monday college football, Friday college basketball. He's also the star of the NBA OG show, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Bobano, excellent work. Any last words for the Cappers supporting the show?
Just let's have a great Thursday in all sports. Cash some tickets. Everyone in the chat, thanks for tuning in. Good luck to all of you. Hit the like button. Same to you, Jimmy. Good luck. Let's have a big day, and we'll see you again next time.
Great work from Bobano. As always, I'm so excited. I love having all this action throughout the day. I love everything about it. Justin McKelvey says, need -15.5. Really need it. Well, you are in business. Let's come home with it. That live spread's 27.5. So let's just come home with it. Excellent work. To review action in college basketball here. And do we have the other game? Has the other game started off yet? Let's check out. Yes, it is 4. Oh, Jesus, 9-3 Detroit Mercy, 4 minutes into that one. So 12 points have been scored through the first 3 minutes and 58 seconds, which is great. Now, the live total is still 144.5. It's not like it's dropped that much, but that's a fine pace. Nothing to be too concerned about. And those of you on the under 69 or 69.5, everything is moving ahead smoothly, and we will keep an eye on that. Yes, Mel. We did get the word that Wedgwood was starting, but thank you so much for caring about us enough to jump in the chat immediately when you found out as well. So, yes, I'm very excited to see Wedgewall and what he does here for you guys. Have you decided what you're doing in NHL, Mel? Let's review action here. So we have Big Scott who got in at Southern Miss -2.5. That moved up to 5.5, and I did take at the 5. I did take Alabama State, but Big Scott getting a great number. He's also on Wright State money line, game we didn't talk about. He's not the only one on Wright State money line. Morgan Spooner also on Wright State money line. South Carolina State money line +275. Wright State money line +105. He's on UT Rio Grande Valley -5.5. San Francisco -8. PFW -8. Missouri State +15.5. Chosen one is on IPFW -7 and Purdue +1.5. Stacks play of the day number 1 is also on Wright State. So we have 3 of our cappers here. Mel says we'll be back in the Habs in some way. Moneyline team total over something. I'm sure you can guess why. Yes, Justice Anunen would be why, Mel. I thought about you. I'm very curious to see what he does here. I'm very curious, very interested. We have the Stacks play of the day number 1 is Wright State at -101. Shout out to our guy Justin McKelvey.
Stacks, 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 stacks. Stacks, 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 stacks.
I got on the board with Southeast Missouri State first half, finally winning by a hook, which is helpful. Then next up, I moved on the under here in PFW Detroit Mercy. I'm trying to stay away from totals in college and NBA, honestly, as well. But felt, a little bullish after cashing that early one. So we'll see how that bangs out. Alabama State +5. Bobano moved on at 5.5. The respect play of the day, Detroit Mercy +4.5. They're up 9-7 here. So now 16 points have been scored in the first 4 minutes and 32 seconds. That's not exactly what we're hoping for. Hopefully some defense is played. Then Bobano's on the over 149.5 in Purdue Penn State. He's on the UT Rio Grande Valley Vaqueros -5 at -110. He's also on the over 142.5 -114. Cleveland State Vikings Milwaukee Panthers. He's on the over 141. He's on TCU +1.5 in the over 145.5 -112. He's on the over 1, and that's an Xavier TCU. He's on the over 136 in Drake Valparaiso. He's on Cal Poly +3 in the over 158 in Cal Poly UC Davis. He's on UC San Diego +3.5. And for the final spot on the board from is Cal Riverside +5 at -110 for Bobano. Time to get into NBA, and I'm excited about the opportunity to cap with you guys. So it's just going to be us here. We do have some information off the top. One, Dan Kelly says he moved on the Brooklyn Nets over season win totals over 25.5 and Nets to make the playoffs at 10-1. So we'll discuss that throughout the year here, but the over win total I find very appealing. He says Jordy Fernandez is doing a great job. He's the first NBA coach to get anything resembling positive returns from Ben Simmons. Cam and Ben are getting older and better. They're playing well with a ton of injuries and should get better health-wise. He says, I think they easily win 32, but maybe 40. That is from our guy Dan Kelly in the house. Okay, let's roll into NBA here. I should move this. The game's going to take all my attention, this PFW Detroit game. I got to just let it go for a little bit. 12-8 right now. Hopefully the respect play of the day gets paid here. It's 12-8. I don't have a live line. It's locked up. They're shooting very quickly, but shooting poorly. But Detroit's just running up and down the court, firing away. 12-8 right now. Detroit Mercy with 6 minutes gone here. Let's see if we can get a miss from PFW. And I will put it away so I can focus on NBA. Is it gone? Yes. Miss. Oh, no. They got the rebound. Put it back in. Okay. All right. Let's roll. We get into NBA. We start with the Denver Nuggets at Cleveland Cavaliers. Nuggets at Cavaliers. I have made one bet in NBA, but it's not until the very final game on the board. Nuggets 11-8, 5-4 on the road at the Cleveland Cavaliers, 19-3, 12-1 at home. We're at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse in Cleveland, Ohio. Let me refresh here the injury report that we will have throughout the game. And I've been very excited about this opportunity to cap these games with you. We've often had very small schedules on Thursday. We have a nice group of games here. We'll start with, before we get into X's and O's, let's start with the injury situation. Aaron Gordon is a game time decision for the Denver Nuggets. He's been listed as probable. He has played the last 2 games after a 10-game absence. So Aaron Gordon will be in the lineup. And we know exactly what's going on for the Cavaliers. Ty Jerome, game time decisions, Strus out. Same type of situation we've been in for a little while here. Let's get into the line history for this one and the cash flow and set this one up. Really want to hear what you guys are doing in these spots as well. Let's get it over to NBA and the cash flow. Here we go. So these Denver Nuggets right now are plus 4.5 at minus 109. They opened plus 3.5. We've had a 1 point move towards the Cavaliers, minus 3.5 to 4.5. It is a no vig situation if you want them at 4.5, but still a 1 point move towards them. Total wise, we have a 234. It's minus 109 to the over. This opened up at 235.5. This got up to 236.5. This got up to 237.5. Geez, I didn't even realize that. Got to 237.5 before it started dropping. So it's dropped 3.5 points from that 237.5. This was a 237.5 at 8:30 this morning. Clear, sharp move towards the under. I wonder if this is a cash move towards the under. Let's take a look at the cash and see if it is a sharp action on that under. 34% of the tickets, 32% of the cash on the Denver Nuggets. A line moving away from them. And then on the total, we have 74% of tickets and 61% of cash on the over. So sharp action has come in here on that under. Denver 3-2 over their past 5 games. All these pace and shooting information will all be within the last 5 games. Over the last 5 games, they're 11th in pace, 100.9 possessions a game, shooting 53.6 from the field and 40.4 from 3. They're shooting the ball very well. Cavaliers are 3-2 over their past 5 as well, despite being 19-3 and 12-1 at home. Their pace is 103.5 possessions a game, 46.7 from the field, and just 35.9% from 3. The Nuggets come in off their second win in 3 games, 119-115 at home over the Warriors, and Jokic went nuts, 38, 10, and 6 with 5 steals. He is averaging a triple-double this year, 30.2 points, 13 boards, 10.4 assists. Westbrook and Brown are both playing very well, averaging 15.6 points per game. The team has depth. 6 players are averaging double figures. Porter at 18.7, Jamal Murray at 17.7, and Aaron Gordon is back in the lineup at 14.8, averaging 118.1 points per game and 30.4 assists. The 30.4 assists is second in the NBA. When you hear Thibodeau talking about how thankful he is that the Knicks had 30 assists in their last game. Well, the Nuggets are averaging 30 assists here. Kong's Clip says, when Denver gets healthy, watch the fuck out. I mean, wouldn't you say that that's now? They're healthy now. Kong's Clip's looking at Donovan Mitchell over his points here. And the 10-star play of the day is the Avs money line from our guy, Rod Zawacki. So this is game 1 of a 3-game road trip for the Nuggets. They play at Washington on Saturday night. The Cavaliers come in off their second straight win, 118-87 at home over the Wizards. 7 Cavs went for double figures. It was just that's the worst loss of the year for the Wizards. Mobley went for 19-10. Donovan Mitchell 19-7-5. George Niang, Sam Merrill each had 14 off the bench. And Pickard, Pickard confirmed Philly Eagle Flyer. Interesting. Thank you. He's now probable, Kong. He's now probable. And he's played in 2 straight games. So I would trust Aaron Gordon to be in. The Cavaliers are scoring 121.8 points per game, leading the league. They have the best field goal percentage in the league at 59%, the best 3-point field goal percentage in the league at 40.2%. This is the final game of a short 3-game homestand. They play at Charlotte on Saturday night. They did just come off destroying the Wizards. I don't know if it's the perfect spot, but this would be a Cavs or nothing spot for me. Cavs or nothing. And then I'll take a little more of a look into the under as well, just because it's a sharp action. But again, I'm trying to stay away from those spots here. The scoring has slowed down for us in PFW Detroit Mercy. It's 16-14 now. That live total is 145.5, so it's right. It's dangerous. It's all very dangerous. This is going to come down to the wire. All right, let's move on here. But I am interested in the Cavs. I'm interested in the under. I don't know if it's enough. We'll see how much action I end up having if I need to add that. Let's roll on. Next up for a 7 p.m. Eastern with the Dallas Mavericks 14-8, 6-5 on the road at the Washington Wizards 2-17, 1-8 at home. Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. Washington is playing horrific, by the way, just beyond atrocious. Dan Bonner in house. Great to see you, Dan. Rod Sawacki says, bet under the total in Denver games after three straight games where they made 50% of their shots or better. Under's record since the 2024 season, 8-0. Going to copy and paste that here. Thank you for sharing that. And a wager move small on the under 144. Wow, did it really get down to? What did I get? Went down to 144.5. Oh, I guess you probably moved on that live. Yeah, just 2 points better, but it's going to go down to the wire. Let's get it, wager detective. Okay, let's get back on to that second game here. Dallas Mavericks 14-8, 6-5 on the road, playing very good basketball. At the Washington Wizards 2-17, 1-8, playing some of the worst basketball we've seen in NBA history. Dallas, over the last 5 games, which they've won them all, playing at the 4th fastest pace in the league, 103.4 possessions a game. They're shooting 51% from the field and 45.1 from 3. Washington 0-5, of course, in the throes of this losing streak. They're playing at the 6th fastest pace in the league, and they've slowed down a little bit. They got up to 107 possessions a game last week over a 5-game stretch. 43.1 from the field and just 25.8% from 3. This is just a horrific basketball team, and they're dealing with injuries. Kuzma, of course, out, Kispert out, and George out. Kispert and George got hurt last game. Sadiq Bey out, and then Malcolm Brogdon is a game-time decision here, and he's listed as questionable. So right knee soreness. Since he came back late, so we don't know if Brogdon will be in the lineup. This is just a hideous group. For the Mavericks, they have Dante Exum out, of course, but Najee Marshall is sick. He's missed 2 straight games. Will he be back here for this one? Is that important also? I mean, you kind of want him coming off the bench. Wow, look at that wine time. Fired Eric Bieniemy. That is wild here. Thank you for the update, my man. Let's roll on here. So Mavericks Wizards. Mavericks coming off their 5th straight win in 9th in 10 games. 121-116 at home over the Grizzlies. 15 points down the 4th quarter. It didn't matter. They came back. Dallas won despite playing some ugly basketball. 25 turnovers, 14 missed free throws. The Grizzlies are very upset that they allowed the Mavericks to beat them playing that poorly. Luka went for 37. He's got 73 points over his last 2 games. 37 points, 12 boards, 4 steals, shot 11 of 22 from the field, 5 of 9 from 3. PJ Washington went for 18. Derek Lively went for 17 and 11. And this is the beginning of a 3-game road trip. So they play at Toronto on Saturday. Wizards come in off their 15th straight loss, 118-87 at Cleveland on Tuesday night. You already heard most lopsided loss of the season. Valanciunas, Poole, and Carrington each scored 13. Valanciunas had 11 boards, but they're not trying. I mean, Valanciunas played 19 minutes. Also, Washington in that first quarter, it was some of the ugliest basketball you're ever going to see. 8 turnovers in the first quarter. They shot 38.6 from the field in the game, 15.4 from 3, and finished with 21 turnovers. And as I said, Kaishan George and Corey Kispert is both sprained ankles. They have been ruled out. Malcolm Brogdon left in the 3rd with right knee soreness. I don't know if he's going to play. Just to give you an idea of how bad they've been, of those 15 straight losses, only 1 hasn't been by double digits. The 9-point loss at San Antonio. So 15 straight losses, 14 by double digits, 1 by 9. I mean, it's just horrific. Now, in saying that, the only reason, and I love Wizard first quarters. You guys know that. But the reason why I can't bet it is because despite the Mavericks winning 5 straight, they played bad against the Grizzlies. Jason Kidd loved the way that they stuck together and they hung through it, but 25 turnovers, 14 missed free throws. They didn't play well. They didn't execute well. And I want to back the worst team in the world, the Wizards, against, it's like they're the Generals, man. I want to back them against teams that are coming off executing very well and will be looking past Washington. The fact that Dallas played so poorly in key parts of the basketball game is enough to make me not move on the Wizards first quarter, even though I'm going to be betting that a lot this year. So there's no action for me. It's a pretty ugly spot here. I imagine the fourth quarter, Mavericks are going to empty their entire bench. It's nothing that I'd like to move on here. So let's roll on. Next up for us, we have 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Charlotte Hornets 6-15, 1-7 on the road at the New York Knicks, 13-8, 7-2 at home at Madison Square Garden in New York, New York. Yes, I moved on Alabama State +5, Hugh, my friend. I did. And Kong's Clip says, give me that. Sounds a lot like a Dallas first quarter. Again, against any other team in the NBA, I would be interested in Dallas. Not any other team, but against a really good team, I would be, because I would think that they would try to execute properly, and that would be a key point for Kid, but not against. I don't want against the Wizards, but I can understand it, Kong, for sure. Let's talk Hornets Knicks. Do the Knicks care right now that they look bad in Charlotte at that 12 p.m. game on Thanksgiving? I don't have the answer to that, but it was sure ugly. Oh, it wasn't Thanksgiving. It was on Friday, right? It was that Friday morning of Thanksgiving Friday. Textile says yes, that they care that they didn't play well in Charlotte. It's an important angle here in this basketball game. Let's get into the line history here and the cash flow for Charlotte, New York Knicks. We have this total at 218 minus 108 to the under. They just played a game with 197 points. So, and it's also gone up from the 216.5 that it opened at. Of course, that game was started at 12 p.m. Eastern. And then we have New York minus 14.5 and minus 105. They opened up at minus 15, now 14.5. Presidential Minded Kings is on the Hornets plus 14. And Rod's Wacky says, bet against Jason Kidd on the first half line after 5 or more consecutive wins. That makes sense. I'd be all over that, Rod, if they didn't turn the ball over 25 games last game. But that makes perfect sense, your angle there. Perfect sense. So let's get into the cash flow. We've seen a half-point move towards Charlotte. We have 59% of the tickets on the Knicks and 62% of the cash. Line pretty stagnant there. 80% of the tickets, 85% of cash on the over. We've seen the line move in that direction. So let's roll. Yeah, I get strange wager ticket. It looks like, you know what? I'm not going to get caught into that. I just want you guys to cash your first half. Lead us into cashing the game here. Saturate says got to be the Hornets. Charlotte 0-5. They've lost 6 straight, but 0-5 over the past 5. 93.9 possessions a game. That's the slowest pace in the NBA. Very slow. 40% field goal, 33% from 3. The Knicks are 4-1 over their past 5. 18th fastest pace, 98.3 possessions a game, shooting 49.8 from the field and 41.2 from 3. They're playing much better basketball. Let's take a last look at their most recent injury report. Precious Achua is a game time to decision. So is Campaign. Robinson out. Bridges, Treyman, and Ball all out for Charlotte. Achua questionable here. They're hoping that he gets in at some point. Get him rolling here. He's a nice depth piece for them. Vikes for life in the house. No, he's not playing, Kong. He will not be playing in this one. So the Hornets come in off their 6-3 loss, 110-104 at home to Philadelphia on Tuesday night. They've been playing pretty good basketball. I know they've lost 6 straight, but 5 of those 6 losses have come by 6 or less. And here they're 14.5-point dogs. MSG. Brandon Miller is being rolling here. So during the 6-game losing streak, he's averaging 26.5 points per game, 6.7 boards, and 3 assists. And he is the guy here. LaMelo Ball with the calf strain. Expected him to be out for 2 weeks. Vasily Micic as well has been pretty good. I mean, he's no Ball, but 9.7 points, 5 assists, 4 boards, and 3 starts. This is just a 1-game trip. They come home and play Cleveland on Saturday night. Kong's Clips leaning to the under. The Knicks coming off their third straight win, 126-106 at home over the Magic on Tuesday night. Karl Anthony Towns went for 23. Brunson went for 21. 6 guys in double figures. Then they go 4-0 through that East group in the in-season tournament. And they've got 30 assists the last 2 games. Now, when these guys played in Charlotte, it was only 20, 99-98. This is also game 3 of a 4-game homestand. If this is, for me, the 4th game of 5-game homestand and 5th game of 6-game homestand is my favorite spots. And I would personally be on Charlotte. But there's two reasons I can't do it. And it's really basically Charlotte or nothing. But the first reason is that, the Knicks went into Charlotte and played bad basketball, won 99-98 last Friday. They want to be better. And secondly, it's game 3 of a 4-game homestand. So there's comfort. This is just a 1-game trip for these Hornets, one night in New York City. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't correlate. I don't want the Knicks as this big of a favorite, but I can't back the Hornets. It just doesn't correlate enough for me. Rod Zawacki says, bet against Charlotte in away or neutral games after scoring 105 points or less 2 straight games. Charlotte record since the 2024 season, 1-9 against the spread. Says, bet against Charlotte revenging a close loss versus an opponent of 3 points or less. Charlotte's record since 2023 season in that situation, 0-6 against the spread. Just phenomenal stuff here from our friend Rod Zawacki. We have Ron Crawford, fresh off board sweepage on NFL Pub Hub on Sunday. Ron, I need you back this Sunday. We need winners, and we need them back. And the play of the day for Ron is the Raptors, which we'll talk about here shortly, and the New York Jets. It's perfect timing for him to tell us that the NBA play of the day is the Toronto Raptors, because that is the next game we're going to be breaking down right here. Oklahoma City at the Toronto Raptors. Raptors playing the best ball of the season. Shout out to our guy, Ron Crawford. All right, we roll on here. Humphreys is practicing. Okay, thank you, Ron. Let's roll here. Oklahoma City Thunder at the Toronto Raptors. The Thunder 16-5, 7-3 on the road. Raptors 7-15, 6-4 at home. We're at Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, Ontario. Let's get into the line history here for OKC Toronto, and then take a look at the injury report. Oklahoma City -9.5 and -106. That's exactly where this opened. Exactly. To a T. So we've had no movement on the spread. On the total here, we have 226.5 -104. It's opened up at 227. We've dropped a half point. Let's get to the cash flow here for the Raptors game. We have 50-50 on the ticket count. That's why this line's not moving. 50-50 and 51% to 49% on the cash flow. So 51% of the cash on the Thunder, 49% of the cash on the Raptors. This is very tight. 87% of tickets and 90% of cash on the over here in this one. Oklahoma City, slowing down. They're 4-1 over their past 5, 97.7 possessions a game. That's 23rd in the league. Shooting 47.8 from the field over the last 5 games and 35.1% from 3. Yes, Textiles, SGA back. Now, SGA is from Bobano's homeland of Hamilton, which is about 45 minutes from Toronto. Toronto 3-2 over the last 5, playing the best ball of the year. 14th in pace, 99.7 possessions a game, 49.6 from the field and 36.5 from 3. Oklahoma City bounced back from their 119-116 loss at Houston by destroying the Jazz at home, 133-106 on Tuesday night. Jalen Williams, 28 points. Shea, 26. Aaron Wiggins, 16. All 3 players had 3 steals each. They shot 52 from the field. This is game 1 of a mini 2-game road trip. They play at New Orleans on Saturday night. Raptors coming off their second straight win in 3rd and 4 games, 122-111 at home over the Pacers on Tuesday night. Scotty Barnes went for 35. He's playing very good basketball. That's a career high for him. RJ went for 29. Pirtle, 17 and 10, 13th double-double of the season. Toronto shot 54.3% from field. My guy Markel in the house got the Raps by the points. They shot 54.3% from the field. And that allowed them to turn the ball over 21 times and not pay the price. We know that the Thunder are very good, especially against teams that don't have enormous height. This is game 3 of a 5-game homestand for Toronto, so it's a pretty nice spot to back them in. They're now 6-4 at home. I mean, this is a team that's 1-11 on the road, but 6-4 at home. Rodswag says, bet against Darko on the first half line versus good defensive teams, allowing less than 108 points per game. Darko's record on the first half line is coach 0-7 against the spread. Excuse me. I simply can't back Toronto after shooting the ball that well. We know this is a team that's going to struggle with their shot. And I don't want to fade Toronto at home. I think they're a little undervalued in the marketplace at home. You put that together, and I can't move on the Raptors. That leads me to think, Thunder. Do I want the Thunder? Do you want the Thunder at 9.5? Rodswag says, bet on Mark Dagno off a win by 20 points or more over division rival. Oklahoma City 6-0 against the spread in those situations. I get it. There's just no way I'm going to back the Raptors. The 21 turnovers is the type of sloppy basketball they play, especially when RJ Barrett's such a key part of the offense. They just play sloppy. But I don't want to fade them at home. So it's a tricky situation that leads me to not moving. I have moved on the last game of the night here. If that means I've got to go back to this Cavs in the under at Rocket Mortgage and move on it, I will, because I'm not going to go into tonight with a dearth of action. Let's move on. 8 p.m. Eastern with the Sacramento Kings, 10-12, 5-5 on the road. Hartenstein over 11.5 boards for the Juice. And in fact, we didn't go over that final injury report from Toronto because Grady Dick and Pirtle are game time decisions, which is never good. Pirtle questionable. Pirtle sick. That's not good. Grady Dick questionable as well with the bruised left calf. We don't know if he's been taking any contact in practice. So Pirtle sick is the big part. Of course, Chet out. What if Pirtle's out? Then Hartenstein's just going to eat. And the Thunder will just take care of business here. Textile says I might take Raps with a big number live if possible. And then the Thunder coming off such a big win. I kind of lean towards Thunder first half. I mean, what if Pirtle's not in? I kind of lean to Thunder first half now. I don't know if I'm going to get there. I'm going to need more time, but that Thunder first half is now on my radar. If Pirtle's sick, when one person's sick in the room, then others are as well. Let's move on to Kings, Grizzlies here. FedEx Forum, Memphis, Tennessee. Grizzlies are a real angry group. They're a real angry group after what happened here last game against the Mavs. They should have won that basketball game. Up 14 late. I mean, they're a very, very angry group. We have a 29-24 game for PFW here. It's going down to the wire, so we'll keep now 29-26. Live total just moved to 147.5, so that is going to go right down to the wire on that first half under. Kelly McInnes says OKC gonna cover. I get it. I just, after the domination that they just delivered over Utah at home, it's not my favorite place to back them. In fact, I bet you that keeps me off of it, honestly, of the first half. But let's roll on. 8 p.m. Eastern, Kings, Grizzlies. We're at FedEx Forum, Memphis, Tennessee, where the Grizzlies are 10-3 at home. Let's get into the live line history here. We have this total very high, 241.5. It opened up at 243. We've dropped 1.5 points. Let's get to the point spread. From a spread perspective, we have Memphis minus 3.5 and minus 103. There was a legitimate move to Sacramento, which made no sense to me. And that always gives me pause. This opened up with Memphis minus 4.5 and was 3. It was minus 3 this morning. That surprised me. Now we've got a half point of buyback, but why? Let's get into the cash flow here. We have just 25% of the tickets and 38% of the cash on Sacramento, and this line moving towards them is perplexing. You know that the Grizzlies are an angry group. 58% of tickets and 51% of cash on the over, and this has dropped 1.5 points. Presidential Minded King on Rockets money line, Nuggets +4 parlay. Let's get into this Sacramento Memphis spot. Sacramento 2-3 over their past 5. We have them playing 21st fastest pace in the league, 97.9 possessions a game, 48.1 from the field, and 35.3 from 3. Memphis 4-1 over their past 5. I mean, they were rolling before that loss. I cannot believe this line's moving towards Sacramento. They're playing at the fastest pace in the league over the last 5, 105.8 possessions a game, shooting nice from the field, 50.4%, but just 34.8% from 3. Sacramento snapped their 2-game losing streak with a 121-11 win at home over the Rockets on Tuesday. It's their second win over their last 8 games. Malik Monk, 17 and 12 assists. Look great. DeMontis, 27 points. De'Aaron Fox, 22 and 7. This is game 1 of a road back-to-back. They play at San Antonio tomorrow night. So it's not a very good spot for them. Dan Bonner on Sabonis over 18.5 points here, averaging 22 points a game on the road this year. Going to be a very fast-paced game with 240 total. He's hit his over in the last 5 games, and Grizzlies allow most points in the paint this season. Maybe that is part of the reason their poor paint play, why Sacramento is the line's moving towards them. If this was the opposite, if this opened up at 4.5 and was now a 5.5 or 6, I'd be on Memphis. Kong's clips on Malik Monk over assist tonight. Says line is just too low. This is how he will continue to play. Copy and paste that. Thank you, Kong, my friend. All right, let's roll here. These Grizzlies coming off the 121-116 loss at the Mavericks on Tuesday snapped their 6-game winning streak. 26 free throws the Dallas Mavericks got in the fourth quarter and only 3 for the Grizzlies. And there was a lot of anger around that. There's a lot of anger with this team right now. They should not. By the way, 26 free throws to 3 free throws. That was in the fourth quarter of that Grizzlies Mavericks game. That's the largest disparity in a quarter in an NBA game in 9 years. Almost 10. Morant had a team high 31. Desmond Bane, back from a strained oblique. He's been shooting poorly. He looked better, 8 of 14 from the field. Still waiting for Zach Edey to return, but Jalen Wells is looking dynamite. Wells was named the NBA Western Conference Rookie of the Month. 12.2 points, shot 45.4 from the field. Looked very, very good. And they play at Boston on Saturday night in a very important game. Rod Swaggy says Memphis over is 6-0 following and under this game. Interesting. Let's go to the latest injury report here for the Memphis spot. So Zach Edey is out. No surprises from either spot here. Look, I've got to stay off of this. I want Memphis, but I have a real healthy fear of the NBA, and it's helped me. Scared money don't make money slogan that always gets thrown at me in the NBA. It's helped me. It's helped me beat NBA, and that's all that I care about. And when the line moves to a team that makes no sense to me, here the line moving to the Kings, with the Kings on the first half of a back-to-back, are the Grizzlies, and the Grizzlies coming off a lot. It just makes no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. And when it makes no sense, I don't feel like I know better. I just move on, and it's the way I do things. Let's move on. 8 p.m. Eastern with the Phoenix Suns 12-8, 4-4 on the road at New Orleans Pelicans, 4-18, 3-7 at home. We're at Smoothie King Center in New Orleans, Louisiana. Let's get into the line history here for this Pelicano spot. They're sitting right now at +2. I'm very interested in them. Opened up at +1.5, moved to +2, a half-point move towards the Pelicanos. When we get to the total here, we have a 222.5 at a pick'em. 222.5 at a pick'em. There's been a lot of movement in this total. Opened up at 221, went up to 223, then dropped down to 220 before it came back up. Wild movement here. That also makes me uncomfortable in NBA games as well. Kong says that Devin Booker cooks this team. He scored 50 in 3 of the last 4 meetings. Will be on a points ladder. And LJ from the H-Town, Memphis, first half at home for our guy, LJ. Things are looking good over there. I don't want to get too much into it. I want to see you guys cash and me have hope on the full game before I do much. Let's get into the line history here. I think this is a really fun game to cap X's and O's. Oh, we did the spread. So we did the spread and the total. Sorry, let's get to the cash flow. Cash flow here, we have 86% of the tickets and 79% of cash on the Suns. 87 and 89 on the over. And I'll tell you the issue I have here in a second. But Phoenix 3-2 over the past 5, 10th in the league in pace, 101 possessions a game, 50.1 from the field and 40.5 from 3. They're shooting the ball very well. Of course, they're going to have to shoot the ball well without KD in the lineup here. Orlando 4-1 over the past 5, 18th in pace, 98.3 possessions a game, 48.6 from the field and 33.5 from 3. And, with KD out, we'll take a look here at the other spots on the board. We have, on the injury report. And we have, oh God, where the hell is it? Tripping. Oh, here we go. So KD out, and of course Nurkic out. That's all we really needed to know. Grand Theft Auto out, Zion out, which we expected. Dice out as well. So it's Missy at the 5, but you have Brandon Ingram in, And I expected him to be in, and I almost bet this early thinking he was going to be in. What held me back, because now you got Murray, McCollum, Ingram, and Murphy. And look, I know DeJounte Murray's been horrific this year, but that made me want to back the Pelicans. And what stopped me from backing them is the simple fact that I don't want to fade a team without their star player in game one. I want to fade them in game two, or I'd already be on the Pelicans. The Suns coming off their second straight win, third in 4 games, 104-93 at home over the Spurs on Tuesday night. Lost KD to sprained ankle in the second quarter. It's going to be out for a week. They started out 8-1. Then Durant had the left calf strain. Then they went 1-6 while he was sidelined. That also doesn't make the Suns less appealing to me. That makes me think that they kind of hit a rock bottom with KD out of the lineup. They know that that is the case. Shout out to Joe Tadero in the house. Planted flag fighter of the week. Ian, the future Gary for Joe Tadero. Let's copy and paste that. Thank you, Joe. Big part of the Locker Room podcast. Let's get this up here. Okay. So back to this spot here. Booker went for 29 against the Spurs. That was a 3-3 6-game homestand. Not good. And now this is game 1 of a 4-game road trip. They play at Miami on Saturday night. The Pelicans coming off their 9th straight loss, 124-112 with the Hawks on Monday night. Well, we know the Hawks are rolling right now. DeJounte Murray and McCollum have now started the last 3 games together. That's the only times they have played together since opening night. Murray, of course, had the fractured wrist. Now that's a non-shooting wrist, but he looks horrible. 27.3% from the floor, 24% from the 3. He doesn't look good. He's only averaging 5.8 assists a game. Then we have Herbert Jones, who is such a huge piece of the puzzle, and BI that are both good to go. That I just want to back the Pelicans so bad, but I have one of these rules. The rule, of course, is that I don't fade a team on their first game without their star. And I don't leave it. And it's an NBA where it's the most vicious, because you think you have this angle and then the team steps up without their star. So I have to stay off of this game. All right, great job, everybody, catching that first half under. Shout out to Rod Zawacki. Excellent work from the squad. Now, I would like the full game under, please. Let's move on to the next spot on the board. And I'm sorry that I'm passing on these spots, but at least you hear the reason why. And I do have one bet on the next game, the final game, not this one, but I'm interested in this one. Let's roll. 8 p.m. Eastern, Chicago Bulls 9-13, 6-6 on the road at the San Antonio Spurs 11-10, 8-4 at home. We're at Frostbank Center in San Antonio, Texas. Let's get into the line history here. We have a total of 236. The Bulls have been flying pace-wise. So this opened up at 235 and has gone up a point to 236. Let's go to the point spread here in this one. We have the Bulls +2 and -107. So we've had no movement on the spread at all. Let's get into the cash flow here. From a cash flow perspective, it's a 50-50 proposition. You have 54% of the tickets on the Spurs and 50% of the cash. 63 and 65 on the over. This is a spot where you would have to trust your X's and O's, because the market isn't indicating that there's a good spot here. It's saying this is 50-50 type shit. Chicago 2-3 over their past 5, but they're still playing at that very quick pace. Second in the league, 104.7 possessions a game. And they're shooting the ball quite well, 51.4% from the field and 38.3% from 3. And shout out to Respect, play of the day, cashing with Detroit Mercy first half. Great job from all of you guys. I love it. LJ from H-Town says Chris Paul over assists without Wemby, and Saturated says you're thinking about Bulls first half. I can't talk about what's going on with me with the Bulls this year, but it's been very impressive, and I just don't want to talk about it, because whenever I talk about these things, something goes wrong. Spurs 3-2 over their past 5, 25th in pace, 97.4 possessions a game. They're shooting the ball poorly, 44% from the field and 33.8 from 3. Take a look at the latest injury report. Wemby, of course, out. Trey Jones out. Kobe White out. Pat Williams out. And Giddey is the game time decision. That's the discomfort here. So he's got a sprained right ankle despite coming off the triple dub and that win over the Nets. When you have Kobe White and Lonzo Ball out, you really need Giddey out there. I mean, there was a time when Taylor Horton Tucker was a good player. Those times are over. Taking a look at the cash flow again here, there's no help. So let's go through the X's and O's. The Bulls come in off snapping their 2-game losing streak with 128-102 win at home over the Nets on Monday night. Giddey with the triple-double. Vooch goes for 21 and 10. And Bazelis goes for 20. Do we trust that he's going to be able to continue this? It's the importance of him in this lineup is with the injuries, especially to Kobe White, enormous. So can we expect a second straight very, very impressive game from him? Ayo put up 16. Horton Tucker scored 11. The Bulls shot 52 from the field and 34 from three. The Bulls dominated in every aspect of the basketball game. They shot, as I said, 52 from the field. They out-rebounded the Nets 54-41. They dominated fast break points 32-15. They dominated in the paint 62-40. And this is a first of a back-to-back with travel. They host the Pacers tomorrow night, and that starts a 3-game homestand. It's not a very appealing situation to back the Bulls. You have injuries with their guards, and I'm a huge Kobe White guy, so you have injuries there. Then you have the first of a back-to-back with travel. There has to be some concern. Do you really want to push Giddey here? And I'm sure that they will get him out there, but how much is he going to be able to play with the ankle sprain? What happens if it hits him in the game? Let's talk about the Spurs coming off their second loss 3 games, 104-93 at the Suns on Tuesday night. Devin Vassell went for 25. Wemby went for 15 and 13. Stephen Castle 16. Shoan 14. Johnson went for 10. They shot just 35% from the floor. But here's the worst part. They shot 18.2% from three. Wemby went 1 of 9 from three. This is the first of a back-to-back for them, but it's at home, and they have 3 games in 4 nights. Honestly, with this situation, I would like to back the Spurs here. Lucky Lefty on the Spurs trifecta and Chosen One on the Spurs. I would like to back the Spurs here. Are you surprised that this line's not moving? Another thing that's very important is, we all know Wemby's out. It's out there, and this line's not moving. So it's already baked into the line, sure. But this is when I want the Spurs. I want them at home. I want them after a terrible game. I want them in a game without Wemby. I want the Bulls when they have a first half of a back-to-back with travel. They have concerns at the point guard spot. I want to fade the Bulls without Kobe White. I plan on being on the Spurs tonight. But I tell you this, I'm not going to bet this right after the show. I want this market to marinate. I want to see no movement because, the public action is going to start rolling in here. And if this line doesn't move, I'm going to become more bullish on the Spurs. Let's say this line moves, to the Bulls -4. If the line moves to the Bulls -4, Bulls pick 'em. Sorry, a 2-point move. I'm in my head. Sorry, Spurs would be +4. But if this moves towards like a pick 'em situation, then I might stay off of it. But if this stays here, with the Spurs as the favorite, without Wemby, this is a smash spot. This is one of the spots that the NBA sets up for us. Now, I want to see 70% of the tickets on the Bulls and the line not move. And I expect that's what we'll see. I expect that the Bulls tickets will start rolling in. The Bulls coming off of a smash and grab performance. Situationally, this is perfect. So I'm going to be on the Spurs. I guess the unit size wouldn't change. I guess all I'm looking for is confidence. But also, Also, if we do get in the spot where I can take the money line instead of the spread, I would be interested in that here. So Rod's Bike says bet against road teams versus the money line. Poor defensive team shooting percentage over 46% on the season against an opponent after a game where a team made 35% of their shots or worse, 24-7. I like it. Robert Francis says Spurs money line. Okay, let's roll on. There's Turnsey in the house. Great to see you, Turnsey. Tough NHL card tonight, Turnsey. Be very interested to hear what you have. Okay, here we go. Alperen Sengun. You guys know I try to stay away from player props. I'm 4-0 on them over the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks. I don't remember betting one before that. I kind of just started opening up the door with them. And I love backing a player after getting ejected. I also, now I would prefer him to get ejected earlier than later. And he got, Sengun got ejected late. But I also, this is like the icing on the cake. So you guys have seen me back player props after player gets ejected the next game. But when the coach gets ejected too, that's heaven. Because that's telling Sengun that he is respected. He's honored. The coach has his back. He's going to come out and show out tonight. And who's going to stop him? Kevon Looney? Kuminga? No. Over 39.5 points, rebounds, and assists was I don't want to get too caught up, but felt like a real gift type opportunity. This was also juiced 10 cents more at Real Sharp Offshore Books than it was at Bet365. Let's go and see what it is at Bet365 right now. I would like this to have moved in my direction. Well, I can tell with the points here. Why don't we start there? Because he was at 22.5, which hasn't moved, so it's juiced to the under. I don't like that. And then points, rebounds, and assists. If that hasn't moved, this probably hasn't moved either. 39.5. So all that's happened is there's been 5 cents of movement to the over. So this is right where I got it. Let's roll here and discuss this spot. Rockets 15-7, 6-4 on the road. Golden State Warriors 12-8, 5-3 at home. We're at Chase Center, San Francisco, California. Houston 3-2 over their past 5, playing at 17th fastest pace in the league. Got our guy LJ here, says Rockets have lost 14 straight versus the Warriors. Lucky power on Houston -3.5. Let's roll here. We have Houston shooting just 42.4 from the field and 34.1 from 3 over the last 5 games. Not shooting the ball well. And the Warriors also aren't shooting the ball well. Of course, no Steph, and they don't look good, but they're shooting just 41.9 from the field and 34.4 from 3, playing at the 16th fastest pace, 99.4 possessions a game. Let's get into the line history here for Rockets Warriors. We have the Rockets -4 at -101. This opened up at -2.5, a 1.5 point move towards the Rockets. This is a no vig situation at 4, so you can pay for the 3.5. A lot of cost you -115 or at the most -120 if that's important to you. The total is at 219. These teams are shooting so badly. The interesting thing about this total, and this, we talk about my fear of the NBA. This total opening up at 220, shot all the way up to 223 before it dropped to 219.5. This is all between like 11 at night and 2 in the morning. That kind of wild, extreme movement and U-shaped movement really makes me uncomfortable unless I have like an X's and O spot that I really believe in. Then, so after that initial spot where it goes down to 219.5 around 1:30 in the morning, this shoots all the way back up to 222.5, sitting at 222.5 this morning. And then we have another move to the under, and that's where we see ourselves at 219 with a 1 point move towards the under. It's disconcerting. Let's move over to the cash flow. From a cash flow standpoint, our last game on the board before we race, I hope we horse race. I'm not sure what Jose has there. I can't quite see from here, but I hope it's horses. It's fine if it's not, though, Jose. Don't even change it. 52% of tickets, 59% of cash on the Rockets. So the Warriors are getting backing. 92% tickets, 92% cash on the over, and yet it keeps dropping like this. It's wild. So the Rockets coming off having their 3-game winning streak snapped, a 121-11 loss to Sacramento on Tuesday night. Sengun 24-8. And then, he gets ejected late. He's been averaging 21.3 points, 12.7 boards in the 3 wins that they had before this 24-8 spot. Again, Udoka said great things about Sengun afterwards and just completely had his back. So they head to LA after this too. They face the Clippers at SoFi, and they have a couple nights off, which is I don't really like. A couple nights off in LA, knowing that they're going to be off in LA for a couple nights after the game. The Warriors coming off their 5th straight loss. They played good. 119-115 at the Nuggets on Tuesday night. Shout out to the Truth Teller who moved, and Mel and the Truth Teller who moved live on the Nuggets when they were down. The Warriors didn't have Draymond Green in Tuesday's loss to the Nuggets with the sore left calf, and he's already been ruled out for tonight. I'll double check that, but that was as of this morning early. This is game 1 of a home back-to-back. They host Minnesota for games Friday and Sunday. So they host Minnesota Friday and Sunday. They play the Timberwolves 3 times over the next 8 days. Let's go over the injury report and see if we have all of the pertinent information. I'm sure it will say that Draymond is out, which we must have here. So we have Draymond out, Curry out, and Wiggins is a game-time decision listed as questionable. It's funny. He didn't have an injury designation going into that game against Denver, so it happened during the game. Van Vliet is a game-time decision. Terry Eason out. Van Vliet with a right knee contusion here. So I think that you'd want to know Van Vliet is in. No respect to Reed Shepherd or Aaron Holiday, but that's not who you want to have running this team at this point. I can completely understand why the Rockets are being backed here. Coming off of a loss. The Warriors also looked really good against Denver. They got up for Denver. Now they come back home. This is appealing to back the Rockets here for me. This is appealing. Let's go over this situation. Now, do we need to wait for Van Vliet to be in? I think we do. I don't expect the line to move too much further here. I think I want to know that he's in. Am I too late to the party? Is there a chance that Van Vliet wouldn't be in here? I think the Rockets. I want to close the night on the Spurs and the Rockets here. I wonder if anybody, if LJ from H-Town, anyone with boots on the ground here, understands this spot here. Kong say, don't you think Houston fight for their coach after he got ejected? No, I think Sengun fights for his coach. I think you got to focus on that angle here. Rod's White says, bet on Houston as a favorite of 3.5 to 9.5. Houston record since the 2024 season, 22-5 against the spread. I wonder, do we need to wait for Van Vliet? I mean, I don't want this line to keep moving. I think it's a good situation with the Warriors coming off a really good basketball game and the Rockets coming off a lot. I think I should just move on this now. I mean, is there any chance? Okay, I'm as soon as this show's over, I'm going to deep dive into any Van Vliet information I can get. Turnsy, I like Canada's roster a lot. It's just, when have we ever had bad goaltending? I'm just not used to that, Turnsy. But the roster's great. The roster's deadly. Okay, so let's review NBA. I came in already with Sengun over 39.5 points per assist. That line is not moved. Or it's moved 5 cents. You know what? I should probably just see what it is at this offshore. Because it was minus 119. Like, if this is like minus 110 now, it's okay. My X's and O's, I know why I'm doing it. But it does make you a little more confident. Yeah, it's come back 4 cents. So it's minus 115 to the over now. That's fine. I'll deal with that. Thank you, Amsterdam. What else? Thank you, all of you guys. Let's review all action. Let's also bring my co-host, the producer of the show. What do we got?
Breaking news. A franchise has given out their largest guaranteed contract in their history.
So you guys?
It is the A's. They have signed 3 years, $67 million to Luis Severino. Congratulations to him.
I thought you were giving us the Soto news, man. I thought it was Soto.
I mean, I wish it was. It's going to be this week, though.
Yeah.
It's gonna be this week.
And again, they can thank the Blue Jays for sweetening the pot for every huge star lets the Blue Jays
Good.
put in their offer with not a thought of actually playing in Canada.
Of course, good. I'm glad. Hey, 12 years, $625 million. I can't wait.
Nasty Nate wants to go to the Red Sox. I get it. Jose, why don't I do the review? Why don't we take a second here to regroup? Why don't we race? And then I will review all action before the show is over here. We've had a high-scoring first minute here in PFW Detroit Mercy. I hope, it's okay if I take the L and you guys all get the casher, but I would not be pleased if that was the case. But I get it. Rod gave out the first half. That should have been the move I made. I could be sitting back laughing with you guys here. Very high-scoring opening. Let's see if we can get okay. Jose, my friend, what are we racing? What animals?
Of course, we're racing the ponies. I mean, there's no other thing we can race. I will let you know this. If that Juan Soto news does break while we are on air, I will probably come on screen hyperventilating and having a mini panic attack. So for all of us, I hope it happens. And apparently Buster Olney is saying that Roki Sasaki is probably signing with the Dodgers. So no one cares about that. Everyone knew that was going to happen already. So, all right, let's get the ponies going.
How many gold members do we have?
81 gold members.
Thank you.
Racing for us here. It's going to be a lot of fun. We have a minute to win the money here. So let's get after it. We're off and racing in beautiful San Antonio, which is actually cold now. 52 seconds in. Big O takes the lead right now. Jarek White, BT also in the mix there, as well as Chill, Will, Sammy Colmer, Nasty Nate, Coin, Billy Friedrich, Justin McKelvey all up in the mix on the top of the screen. But BT, Coin, Big O, E. Burke all in the mix right now, Jimmy.
Jay Peasy making a huge move along the outside. A monstrous move for Jay Peasy, but big BT still has the lead. Chill Will right there. There is Nate Dogg making a move as well. Not to be confused with Nasty Nate. C-Mac making a move as well. J Dub right in there. Who has late pace? Big O trying to get there. Financially free focus, trying to find the wire, but Boogie Mane making a move. Same with George Wood. George Wood firing. Nate Dogg firing. Here comes the Skunt Blaster and Ricky Bobby. Ricky Bobby making a power move, but he can't catch Nate Dogg.
God damn, that Jose Bouquet.
Yeah, you were flying late.
Son of a bitch. Yeah.
You were flying late.
Nate Dogg, I feel like that's like his sixth race. I feel like he's won so many.
19 points have been scored in the first 3 minutes. Very disappointing to see this here in PFW Detroit Mercy. Great seeing everybody get paid. I want to get paid with you guys. I should have just taken the first half. I'm very nervous here. I could use a brick from Detroit Mercy. And I got it. Now I need PFW to slowly take the ball up court. Take your time. Take all the time you need here. Okay, let's review all action. Shout out to Nate Dogg for getting paid in full. No, the prize is not doubled for the two races we skipped, Nate. $50 here. $50 for today and $50 for tomorrow. I did ask. Now, if we can get up to 100, that might help. We're at 81 right now. That would help but no.
Need more gold members. Yeah, Wager Detective would love to see you in green. Irish King, all you guys.
Okay, he's in, says Rod Zawacki. Van Fleet is in. So I'm going to bet the Rocket as soon as the show's over. Thank you for that, Rod. So I like it. So let's review all action. Not a lot of NHL for me, and I'll have to make these decisions. We're also 50 minutes away from the Cappers Contest show that Jose and I will host, and we have the most important Cappers Contest show of our lifetime.
Yeah, you can say that.
And I did. I even did just say that. That's how big it is. It's huge. We are now 562nd. 562nd.
3.5 points out of the money.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was already thinking there's not that many people we have to split it with, right? Because we've only been getting like 20 voters. Like we'll go through each show and go over who was involved in them.
Yeah, you know what? That will be a gigantic pain in the Pasalia. But if we have to do that, I will make the sacrifice and help you do it, Jimmy.
It'd be the great. What do you mean pain in Pasalia, man? That'd be the greatest thing we've ever had the opportunity of doing. Deciding how much money everybody makes.
It would be a gigantic pain. But
No,
I'll do it.
No, I'll do it with no pain and no complaints here. I'm very excited though. 5-0, so we went 13-7 in the last quarter. Saturated. Okay, let's review all action here because we got to regroup here. I got to get my action in before our next show. That's in 48 minutes, and it's a huge one. Bobano on the Sabres at plus 120. He's on the Habs plus 118. The team total over 2.5 minus 140. I am actually interested in the under, but I want to see how high it goes. Bobano, first period over 1.5 in Detroit, Ottawa, over 6, and the draw at plus 340. Don't like seeing this. DC Capper against me on 2 of his 3 plays. I don't like seeing that at all. Detroit over 51.5. Says easy over. Oh, that makes me nervous. And Southern Miss minus 5. Makes me nervous, DC Capper. But thank you so much for sharing your action, even if it makes me uncomfortable. Sharks, Lightning, no action. Florida, Philly, draw plus 350 in the over 6 for Bobano. I'm not going to take Carolina minus 1 with Wedge Wall in. Bobano's on the draw at plus 330 in Seattle, New York Islanders. I am interested in the under in this one. Bobano on the Blues at plus 114. I have some interest in the Blues. Some. I mean, they're just playing really good hockey. I don't know what to do at this point. I want to fade Calgary so bad, but they're 10-3 at home. I guess the market has included that, though. And then I'm going to smash the Oilers tonight. First period minus 0.5 and full game minus 1.5. I'm not comfortable. I'm not excited about sweating that out live with everybody. Bobano on the first period over 1.5 and the over 6.5 in that one. Then in college, best bets, we have the Cavs minus 3.5 from Justin McKelvey and Wright State minus 107. A chosen one on IPFW minus 7 and Purdue plus 1.5. A Big Scott on Southern Miss minus 2.5. Morgan Spooner on South Carolina State money line plus 275. Wright State money line plus 105. UT Rio Grande Valley minus 5.5. San Francisco minus 8. PFW minus 8. Missouri State plus 15.5. All right. At least we went 1 minute with the. Oh no, we didn't. They scored right out of the break, but we did go a minute without scoring. Still, I'm very uncomfortable. Couldn't be more uncomfortable here with this 21-point first 4 minutes and 10 seconds. How about a brick? Why don't you throw a brick up for PFW? Okay, let's review more action here. We have I cashed with Southeast Missouri State to get the day started, which is okay. Good, a brick. And the clock stopped. They probably got a foul there. I'm on this full game under now with PFW Detroit Mercy, which makes me nervous. I'm on Alabama State plus 5. Bobano's on the plus 5.5. And the respect play of the day, cash Detroit Mercy plus 4.5 from our guy Rez Mob. Bobano's on the over 149.5 from Purdue Penn State. He's on Rio Grande Valley with Morgan Spooner minus 5. And he's on the over 142.5 in SF Austin, UT Rio Grande Valley. He's on the over 141 in Cleveland State, Milwaukee. He's on TCU plus 1.5 in the over 145.5 in Xavier TCU. He's on the over 136 at Drake Valparaiso, and he's on Cal Poly plus 3 in the over 158. He's on UC San Diego plus 3.5, and he's on Cal Riverside plus 5. Then Dan Kelly gave us the Brooklyn Nets team total, a season win total over 25.5. I have some interest in the Cavs and some interest in the under. Stayed off the Mavericks, Wizards. I stayed off Hornets, Knicks. The Thunder first half, I think I'm going to stay off, but I have interest in. Dan Bonner moved on Sabonis over 18.5 points. Kong's Clips on Malik Monk assists over. And I don't have action until Spurs, which I haven't bet yet. I'm very interested to see how the market reacts here late. And the Rockets, I'm going to bet as soon as this show is over. And that is our show for today. Jose Bouquet. I'm pumped up about this Cappers contest, but I would like to eat, get some more caffeine, and be in the right shape. But the problem is there'll be no eating or caffeination until I get my action in, which will relax me. Okay, a couple bricks. Thank you, guys. Let's just brick it up, man. Let's brick it up. PFW dominating the boards here. And T-Moss cashing Lipscomb minus 60 plus 105. Caught the Detroit Mercy game under 149.5. Needs 2 in a row. So do I, but 27 points have been scored in the first 6 minutes. So at this pace, we are in trouble, although they're not showing me any live opportunities for the game. But at this point, we're in trouble. Jay Peasy says, Algris up 50-33 first half of the parlay looks promising. I love it. Great work. Thank you, guys. Thank you all so much for being a part of the show. Please, members, join us for the Cappers contest. Jay Peasy, thank you. T-Moss, Rod Zawacki, great stuff. Juan Ruiz, thank you. Old E, The Juice, thank you. Kong's Clips, Saturated, DC Capper, Rez Mob, Jeffrey Blue, Kelly McInnes, Justin McKelvey, Nasty Nate, thank you. Irish King, Sharon Pulliam, Robert Franklin, Yo D, Chris Warren, thank you guys. Rants in the house, Amsterdam, what else? Turnsy, NJ Striker, thank you guys. Truly, truly, truly thank you. I'll be rocking with you guys tomorrow, but we got a triple up day today. So let's get that cash, man. Let's get that cash. Very, very important. Nothing really more important than the Cappers contest show, I think. I think it's extremely important.
I agree.
Have a little hope in the last little bit of the year. Also, we opened that final quarter. It's going to be I'm going to be pumped up for it. Jose, I will see you here in 43 minutes. Any last words for the Cappers supporting the show, my friend?
No, I wish you all luck. Kelly dropping that live PFW is 147 or 146, excuse me, 146.5 for him. So I wish you luck.
Have it here.
But yes, good luck, everyone. Join us into the Cappers contest show later today. We've got about 40-ish minutes to get ready. So, Jimmy, good luck. Get your action in.
I will.
And we'll see you guys then. Leche, los bookmakers.